and we'll go live on YouTube. What's up, Incredible Mike, Jalopy Jones, Project 454? Yeah, I don't know. YouTube hasn't really been receiving these streams as well. I should do like game streams with YouTube or something. We get a couple viewers though. I mean, that's pretty good. I can't really expect more than that. But what a find. Let's get their chat up there. There we go. I don't think the algorithm really knows what to do with like the aimlessness of streaming. Gone. Don't need it open. Don't think that needs open, but let's I guess that's everything. All right. I'm back home. I don't have to watch in 260p anymore. That's always nice. Yeah, their live streaming algorithm, I really wish I could get somewhere with it, you know? By all means, YouTube typically has much better discoverability for things like streams. Well, for things like what we do. Also, from what I hear, the payout is insane. So if I had done my due diligence to try to be an exciting and interesting YouTube channel for tech, I might actually have, well, no, I probably wouldn't be lucrative, but still, the possibility exists. Hey, maybe everybody's right. I could pop off at any minute. Get a Michael Reeves raid or some shit like that. Oh, I turned this off? Okay, let's unplug this. I'll move the dog collar out of the way. Since we need a modicum of space on this one, we're going to be modifying Brain Custard to make it a little slower, like the rest of us. Little brain denty. Oh, we need... Oh, the screw's going to have to find its way. I don't know where that screw is. Am I going to put the dog collar? I don't know where to put it. I don't have any space. Everything's everywhere all at once. Calipers, you guys can go up here. I saw a garbage man with 2,000 viewers on his stream just riding on the back of his truck and throwing trash in. Listen, salmon have more viewers than I do. There's niches for that kind of stuff. Yeah, the salmon on YouTube also get more viewers than I do, both on Twitch and YouTube. One man's garbage is another man's sub. One man's garbage is another man's content. And then he'll like find a body or something, and then it'd be like 10,000 viewers, right? Garbage man. What you doing, honey? I'm watching my garbage man stream. I can't be bothered while watching my garbage man. Hey, you know, I did all the big, giant, enormous respect for garbage people, because man, those people work. They work. Just me lifting my own garbage up out of the shop was enough to get me super tired. I think some of this sudden weight loss that I've experienced on the powerful drugs that I'm on have to do with losing muscle. I think that's what's happened. I think I've lost a portion of muscle, and I guess I'm at a bit of a plateau. I've been weighing myself. I really should only do it once a week, because it sets up expectations if you're not careful. But I've been weighing myself a little bit more frequently, and I've plateaued. I'm not gaining or losing, which is not bad considering, but I would like to see some progress on that. So I guess I gotta tighten the bolts on my habits. That's the whole thing about this stuff, is it's an exercise in doing that. Where did the screw go? Which is a fairly frequent question around here. Especially considering my system of organization, which is known as post-explosion organization. Moments after objects are physics in an explosion, that's where they are. That's where I put them intentionally. I have multiple Zhaos sitting out here too. I got to get those together so I don't start losing these things, because these are like $8 a piece. That screws around here somewhere, and I will eventually stumble on it. The longer the dog collar project goes, the more the pieces are scattered into the wind. It's an unfortunate thing that happens when you're as disorganized as I am. But then, just as a testament to the whole thing, and I'll look at chat in just a second, sorry, I'm leaning forward. A testament to the whole thing is that people who do this kind of stuff come in here and go, "You are so organized." And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't know where my things are constantly. All right, hold on. Let me pivot the fan, and then I'll read you guys. See what everybody's burbling about. What's the burbling going on over here? Finding a body is against toss. Probably. Yeah, figure. I've never met a weak garbage man. If your job is standing around and like lifting things into a truck constantly, and then you have to climb onto the truck and hold onto the truck to get to the next place where you jump off the truck and then immediately lift something and put it into it. Yeah, you're not going to be weak. Like, it is screwing with you. Hey. Hire some writers. I'm organized. I just can't remember where I put everything. That's fair. That's yeah. I can see that. I can see that easily. Today I saw a new Logitech gaming mice. They're like $150 to $200. That is way too much for a mouse. I mean, I'm from an era where my father, who's working in clinical psychiatry, would get free sample Prozac mouse, and it had a little like beach scene in the back of it, with like little floaty things in the fake water. It was awesome. It was like powerful antidepressant mouse. Oh, really? Doing something with this and gaming would be very nice, and I've got to still figure this thing out. I don't have time. Time is the thing, right? Like, some of this stuff that I ordered, and we had kind of a variety day of like electronics doodads, they're not going to see the light of a project for quite some time. The reason I bought them was that I was jumping on a sale, which may not be the best strategy, because honestly, post-sale, in the subsequent years that it's going to take me to get to a project of this thing, it might just go down in price to the sale price, right? But this thing, I think with minimal interference from us, I think we can turn the post-sale clarity, yeah. We could turn this into like a heart rate, respiratory rate device that I could put on my desk, and then when we're playing games, I can put that information up on the screen. It can be sort of, instead of being a PNG tuber or like a VTuber, I would be a biotuber and just have all the information that I could possibly put up on the screen. Blood glucose, respiratory rate, blood pressure. I don't know, blood pressure I'd probably have to wear a collar for, like a cuff, not a collar. Blood pleasure I'd have to wear a collar for. Wait, what did he just say? Wait, I just messed up that sentence. No, in order to do blood pressure, I think you have to wear a collar. I don't think you can. Yeah, there's like a fakey way that the iWatch does it or something, right? I don't know. Maybe you could explore that at some point. But these millimeter wave radar things do respiratory rate and heart rate, which would be really cool to be able to see it like live, just in case. I don't particularly enjoy spooky games, but it would be fun with like a spooky game. Be like, oh my goodness, it spooked me. The spooky game. His heart rate is up. Or you could just see how incredibly fake the typical reaction to spooky games are on platforms like Twitch. That would be hilarious. Having a streamer who, their bread and butter is strong reactions. You get like a Milton T. Pike one, and you give them that sensor and watch what happens, and something spooky will happen in game, and nothing will happen to the respiratory or heart rate while it goes, ah. That would happen. The veil would fall. Here, I'm actually gonna wipe off my oscilloscope. It's gotten dusty back here from days of neglect. I have not been working on anything, and I apologize for that. It's how it goes sometimes. I needed to step away from all this stuff for a little bit just to keep it from grinding me down. That happens everywhere. And believe me, if there were 2,000 people watching, I would be grinding away happily, you know, but it's only so much bother that bother can take. All right, let's see. Let's unplug the Stream Deck. There we go. Undust thyself. I've been looking at this dusty Stream Deck for weeks. It's bothered the hell out of me. Just be monotone as fuck. We had to do that for a choir trip to Disneyland back in the 90s. Choir trip to Disneyland in the 90s, and said they explicitly said we need you guys to not ruin your voices, so please don't shout on the rides. And so we had all these pictures of us on like Splash Mountain and shit where we were just bored. Everybody else is screaming and we're just like, you know, like the Twilight Zone elevator drop. No reaction. What in the... Oh, is that one broken? I think it is. No, it's not. It's just the superposition of USB. Finished my project to convert an old Logitech G11 rubber dome keyboard to quick mechanical keyboard for macro support. Oh, cool. Just had to replace all of its electronics. Keyboard projects are like always so extra like that. You know, my own keyboard project was so super extra and I'm still not done. I have to make circuit boards and I don't know what the state of that is right now. Best to just shelve some of those projects, but unfortunately, poor Julian is not getting his mixer then, and he actually found some Brits made exactly what he was looking for with all the same exact features that I was trying to implement on the thing, with fewer electronics too. I'm not quite sure how they're doing it. I don't think they have that last stage of like a high quality headphone amplifier. It's not needed. It's not needed. All you need to do is get your like voltage levels in the right place, and that's high quality, right? As long as you're using good op amps, which is, I think, probably the way that I should do it. I just didn't feel like doing the calculations and the testing and but yeah, the fewer electronics, they're offering it for like 35. No, it was like 50 euro, I think, 50 something euro. And it's exactly what Julian asked for. It even has a 3-pin plug on the back for the line out to go into another unit, I think, so you can daisy chain them. So it had all the features. I don't know how they're doing it. I think they might be using the Cool Audio 2-channel, whatever it is, mixer, because all their ICs are SO8s, and they've only got like 3 of them. I don't know how they're doing it. I got to do some soul searching on that project, and I think the direction that project should go in, the mixer project, should be Crazy Town. I think all of my projects should take a swerve to Crazy Town, because we belong in Crazy Town. That's where we belong. The things that I work on here have gotten like stale and cerebral and too worky. We need to take a swerve into Crazy Town, and I think the way that we're going to do it is in a bother way of taking a swerve in Crazy Town. I keep saying that and hyping it up, and then it's just not going to be all that great. What I want to do is buy that Korg tube amplifier, and I want to make the mixer, but it will be, the last stage in it is a tube amplifier, and it's going to be the lower voltage Korg / Noritake tube amp on the end of that. And I think that's the cool part. I think that's the cool thing we do, even though, what is Crazy Town? Crazy Town is where I live. Yeah, just we'll put crazy into the project. The other things that need to happen, I need to work on Raspberry Pi stuff, which is innately very boring, but I can get a lot of help from chat because you guys are better at this stuff than I am. Getting OpenGL to run on the Raspberry Pi, then getting Project M to run on that, and then that outputting to a screen. It's a lot. It's an entire project. It's stuff that I could do. I think should be totally possible and doable. It's just things that I haven't done because I'm probably going to run into speed bumps all along the way of that. It's a simple enough, you know, A to B kind of thing here, right? But I don't see any tutorials on it, right? I see tutorials on getting OpenGL running on the Raspberry Pi 5 because this thing has it's got the chutzpah in order to run OpenGL stuff. But all they do is show you how to put the wrapper up and put it onto one of the HDMI outputs. And that's not, this is headless. We don't have a screen or HDMI. We're putting it into LEDs. So that's going to be the weird part. That's going to be the interesting part on that. That hasn't moved at all. And that's actually keeping up Burn the Subs. Burn the Subs is going to sit on this Raspberry Pi 5 as well. And it's going to be a Node-RED device, essentially. So all the computing power that we have in this thing, it's not going to be doing anything. We don't need all this computing power. But then on this, it's going to be running Clipper, because I like Clipper with all of the settings on one big page. We then need to get Clipper onto the SKR mini board, and that gives us the ability to then round out hardware on Burn the Subs. And so I can finish getting Burn the Subs hardware done. Burn the Subs hardware, I need to move cameras over to the other table. We need to sit down and start removing wires and figuring out what the wiring harness is going to look like so that I can put all that together. It should be fairly straightforward. I mean, we've got a TTL laser controller board, so the high power switching stuff is not really going to be necessary. I could practically take a pin from the microcontroller directly out. I'll probably put it on something so that it can hit it with PWM and not risk the microcontroller getting some kind of feedback, right? So if we put that on one of the mid-power switching lines, that can run a PWM to the TTL board, and that's our whole system. All we need then is for Clipper to be able to look ahead properly, the same way Gerbil does, in order to vary the power of the laser during moves that dwell a little longer. And that, I think it's something the Clipper can do. I know, like, in the time since Burn the Subs went down 500 years ago, back in the early times, Gerbil evolved. The GNU, whatever it is, Gerbil, the controller software for laser cutting has evolved, and there's some other like side projects that it exists in now. No idea. I don't know anything. I don't got nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that. That could potentially go onto the board, but I'm not totally sure which one I want to use. Because Clipper would allow for that just one page of settings where you basically describe your entire machine, and then there's no like digging through stuff in order to change the parameters. And then our software has to sit on top of all of that. Our software it needs to be retooled from Twitch to Node so that Node can grab the name, check to see if there's naughty stuff in it, throw it then to Burn the Subs, and that can do all kinds of other stuff like, show up on screens and do all things, just crazy stuff like that, right? Yeah. And that's probably going to exist as Python. I think maybe I'll need to make like a watchdog program or something in maybe the Python just runs everything, and I'll have that just start at the beginning, and then the Python might run the C++ that's going to do the display. That's a little weird. I got to think about this a little more, I guess. This is a whole big system now. It does a lot of stuff. So that's why I've been working on smaller stuff like this, like today's modification of a modular synthesizer thing. What's up, Gamer Jam? This is Jam. Okay, yeah, that's Jam. Jam! Look at that jam. Oh, I don't need the Windex right now. Actually, a little bit of dust. Job hunting sucks. Got to deal with the emotional salary. That is a rough thing. I've read a thread today about how places are trying to like vet out AI candidates by saying like, "Hey, close your eyes and answer this question." I'd just be like, "No." Like, really, people are using AI to make like your representative for job hunting? That's mad. Mad. Of course, then overemployment was a thing for a while, right? And they're still doing that. Yeah, pay us more so we can pay your bills. Our bills. Communist theme starts. Yeah, that's rough. It sucks out there, man. See if I can't get a little bit of dust out of some of my equipment here. I'm looking over at all my stuff and I'm like, everything is covered in dust. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm becoming a moldy old streamer, you know? Sitting here in my laurels. Oh yeah, that feels better. What about you, Microphone Boom? No, you're doing okay. Microphone Boom has a lot of battle damage. Over the years, look at this. Look at that battle damage. All from hitting this light right here that I keep right next to it. I spent all of 2023 trying to get hired. I feel your pain, Gamer Dream. Yeah, that is roughness. Incredible Mike. I don't know, how would I re-enter the job force? I think I'd probably take advantage of this stream, having put my name out there, because I know people have been like, bother if you're ever looking for a job. And I'm like, that may happen one day, but it's not gonna be for a bit. But that would probably be my strategy, is start off with the contacts that I've made through streaming. What little they are. Very few contacts through streaming. There were a couple of us tech guys back in the day doing tech stuff. And gals. Phone up some of the university people that I know now. All right, what else was I doing? Oh, seltzer, so that I don't completely desiccate. Cleaning stream, as satisfying as that would be, and we would probably get 1,000 viewers from that. That's an interesting one. Is that, what's that category doing on? Let's find out. Hold on. Let's see what Twitch is doing. Takes me 5 hours to open up Twitch. There's wires in the way of my keyboard. Drives me nuts. Wow, it loads so fast. Oh my God. They don't have a cleaning category? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And also, what is my summer car doing? So, oh, that's just based on my... Cleaning isn't a... So number one is always chatting, right? Yeah, chatting's always number one. Tarkov is doing very well. And there's some game show going on right now that I think Robert's watching. Huh. Virtual casino. There we go. That's our new category. Technically I'm IRL. Join up in IRL. But cleaning isn't a... Wow, okay. That's crazy. Six viewers, 8 viewers, 200 for a popular streamer. Wow, that's mind-boggling because of the internet content that I know of that involves people cleaning things up has done gangbusters. Right? I see it all over Reddit, at least. I see people, you know, I clean this thing, and it's like the most popular thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Co-working is one of the big ones. Yeah, actually, wait, we didn't look at that. We did not look at that. Come on in. Come in. Stop knocking. You can just come in. Is there a dash in there? Come in. Just come in. Just come in. It's open. What do they call it? Is it? It's not co-working. It's like it's a tag too, isn't it? But I like knocking. I'm having fun. Mutual rhythm and music games. It was like mutual, like masturbation or something. Work. I don't know. It's probably IRL, but co-working. For the people who are like co-studying, for the people who are like working and studying. So with the dog collar, I have a little bit of work to do, and it's work that I don't want to do, so it's never going to get done. With the dog collar, what I have to do is I have to go into WLED's main, and I have to look for some kind of a settings flag or variable flag that gets set once the modem has done its stuff. Not once it's connected, just when the modem is all comfortable in its stuff. And then when that flag gets set, I need to then turn off the modem in my little sub thing. And then what I think I can do, and I'm gonna have to look at this a little bit, is put something like a voltage divider. I don't like it being a voltage divider because that means that you're always going to be dumping tiny little bits of current. I don't know if I can help that. Because when the device turns off, I really would like the device to turn off. But doing what am I saying? So I want to make a user mod for WLED that will turn off Wi-Fi unless you plug the Xiao into the wall. So you plug in USB, it gets that external power, 5 volt, the 5 volt source goes high, we knock it down to 3 and put it on a pin. So my user mod will check that pin that you can assign in the settings, so you can pretty much just copy the low power mod. Looks at that pin and says, oh, it's at 5 volts, or it's at 1, let's turn on the radio. Oh, it's at 0, let's keep the radio off. So I need to find something that does that. What happens in WLED is it'll start up and run its main program, and its main program involves all of these branching units, and all those branching units include user mods. And so in the user mod space, you can look at the global variables that are being set in order to make all the other functionality happen within WLED. So setting up the ESP's modem to function has all these kind of like clauses and stuff in it. Hey, if you're an ESP32, here's the function you need to run, here's this function you need to run, here's this function, and then it'll do that, right? But when it runs the user mod, I'm still wrapped up inside of that program space just from afar, and so I can take a look at some of those mods, and I can say, hey, turn off the radio modem, and it'll go, okay, and then I'll just turn off the radio modem. And then every time that loop comes through, I can say, hey, is 5 volts positive or not? And if it is, and this thing is still closed, open it up, right? That's what we could do in microcontroller space. So that's a pretty easy custom user mod that I can build for this thing. And that'll be the last feature. That'll be the last feature that I need to build within the platform IO. And so that means I can roll the whole thing into hardware again, because we'll be able to then hold the button down for the thing to power down, tap it to turn it back on. It'll not use the radio, so it won't use double the current. And then when we plug it in, it'll look for and connect to Wi-Fi. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe I could build in an AP Connect mode to that, because we disabled those features because those are dangerous. The AP Connect and the master reset of all the settings, not touching that. Just comment them completely out. I could leave in the 6-second hold for AP mode and turn on the radio modem in there. That might be good. Have you added the step counter? We were going to do an accelerometer on it, but it's too much work. Too many features. Yeah, because then I could do step count and I could have it respond to the dog's movement. It's a lot, but it's fun to do a lot. But so that was that project. This thing right here is a foray into low power modes and microcontroller specific stuff in a big project, a big multi-platform project. And it was all pretty easy to do. And none of it was particularly complicated. It was just a lot of reading that I had to do. I had to learn how these specific things want to function. We have one more feature to test, and then we'll test that eventually. I wanted to do something different, or I'd probably have a mental breakdown. This is technically the wubbulator. Yeah, I don't know if this works though right now, because I cleared all of my messages in the server, and there were 2 messages that I kind of can't clear. I can only acknowledge. And so with all those messages cleared and acknowledged, this should not still be in sort of the partially cautionary state. But it is. It's in the pseudo caution state, which is purple. You can kind of see it reflecting off of my hand. There's the big lights right here, so it doesn't really jump out as much. So I think that may still be broken. We looked at the API a lot during that stream, and I wasn't able to fully, I mean, the API is nice and easy, right? I just have to go to an intranet site, and then I get like a return on that, like a JSON return, which is super easy for me to parse through in Node-RED, but there wasn't, and I don't know why, just like a hard drive status thing that I can check. Can I just check the hard drive? I'd have to check what hard drives are connected. There's specific like identities, which is like a serial number, and then ask about that specific serial number and figure out what the smart status is. There's a lot. Fart 6 is great. You guys have like your favorite farts. Listen, it's weird because I don't interact with the fart machine, right? You guys use that thing every day. You love it. Well, every stream. I can't say every day. Some of you use it off hours, but you guys interact with that fart thing, and then you guys have this knowledge that I don't, where you're like, yeah, number 5 is a little juicy, but I like number 7. Like, I don't know them like that because I don't use the thing. I just listen to the damn thing all day. Get the UUID, then run the command and say, yo, I need info. I think that's what I need to do. It's just, that was just this much more work than I wanted to do that day. So yeah, listen, I can put something in Node-RED that would shut it down when the stream's not working. And it may come to that, but it does actually work off hours. And there were times when I'm like walking into the shop and I hear the end of one of the farts, and I'm like, you tried. And remember, I see you guys using it. I see it when you guys put them in. So all adds up, time and effort. I was hoping that there would be something that I could, like, easy, that I could jump in on, like, what's the server status, and it would say good or bad, and then I could make that red or green, and then that's it, right? Because that's what Node-RED excels at. But apparently I need to go in and I need to say, what's the UUID of the hard drives? And it'll say, I've got these 3, and here's a bunch more information that you don't need. And then I need to pluck out those 3, and then I need to turn it into, hey, what's the status of this UUID? And it needs to say, it's this status or this status or this status. So, well, if any of those are bad, we're turning that light red. But that was just a little bit more work. So, yeah. I'll get there, I promise. I'm not always such a mess. Boom, 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 boom. So I watched that new season of the YouTube sensation Has Been Hotel, and it's doing okay with the limited amount of time that it's got. Everything is very, very rushed in the plot, and if you're not used to the way musicals are structured, you can miss a lot of stuff going on. The discourse that I've been reading lately seems like it's a very young crowd, and they don't know how to see the foreshadowing, putting the story together. And there's a lot of like, how dare you make drama with my favorite comfort character? And it's like, but that's what media is. It's interesting reading in on those spaces and seeing sort of the state of things. Because we were all like that at one point. You know? It'll be interesting to see if the fans sort of mature out. But then what happens to these spaces is all the people who are like literate in media talk about it, and I read about it and I go, wow, that's interesting. I did not catch all that stuff. That's crazy. I need to get better at this. And then they're gone. And so it's left to like different tiers of media aware people. And then you get like content farmers mixed into the whole thing that go, how do you feel about X? Can we talk about why? And it's like, this is just getting irritating. It gets crazy after a little while. And then it becomes kind of like Deltarune, where things start to unravel and get unhinged, and all the memes start getting weird. I'm fascinated by this sort of thing on a popular fandom with young fans. It starts at like a really good place, and then it unravels a little bit, and then it gets kind of funny, and then it gets completely inane. It's always more work, and then you finally figure it out all out, and then something breaks and you start over. Those last two steps, I don't know if they'll happen to the light, because if I can get it to properly ping for the UUIDs, and I can get it to properly recognize like the smart status, because somewhere in that smart status is like the drive condition is good or bad, right? Or good or shaky, I don't know. If I can find the proper documentation on that, Node-RED makes it so that doing something like that is pretty straightforward, because your flow is just at time, ask for thing, branches out into more things, this thing, do the thing, this thing, do the thing, this thing, do the thing, right? And then you wrap that back in and say, if there's this information inside of the flow, turn the light a certain color. Yeah, in general. But it like getting the full feature set and then things just working from there is something that I think will happen with the dog collar too. This mix is 11 years old. I think more, I think it might be 12 years old. This is like a 12-year-old mix. So it's like, I wanted just like wallpaper music, right? And the Deckard, My Definition of Chill from Space Cowboys, perfect for it, right? In 2011, I'm not doing the math on that one. I just know it was 2011. Everybody was playing Skyrim, and I left for the desert. I went to Burning Man that year. And my friends were Burning Man natives, like they knew what they were doing there. And they basically just said, all right, let's get on these bikes, these weird bikes that we welded together, and let's just head towards anything orange on the horizon here in what's called the deep playa. Because in the regular playa, you've got your layout of all of the camps, right? And then beyond that is a huge amount of space that's just nothing, right? And so people will make these giant vehicles that are like themed floats. So at one point, we sat down at a diner in the middle of the desert, in the middle of dry lake bed, in a completely acrid climate. I had a Reuben, and then we moved on and looked for another party. Seeing orange on the horizon, we head out, and there is a Moog. If you guys know what a Moog is, military vehicle. If you buy a Moog, you might be tempted to buy a Moog because you have a farmland and you want to be able to go up practically a 90-degree slope in a truck. When you buy a Moog, you need a whole new set of tools. You need military car tools to work on the things. Everything about this is big and military and tough to work on. You know, you'll be stacking railroad ties in order to lift the thing just a little bit so that you can get at the wheel bolts, right? Crazy. But so this music collective Space Cowboys, they have a Moog, and they have it completely set up so that they can drive out to a location in the desert, plop themselves down, open the thing up, and it's a big DJ tower all of a sudden. You're like standing on top of the car, and you've got decks, and you've got all these speakers surrounding you, and it just folds out. And then they have support vehicles that have all the rest of the party stuff, and drinks and all kinds of stuff like that. Like, so we went out there, and it was just, there's just a rave like in the middle of nowhere with this huge military truck with all these speakers on it. And that's what introduced me to the music collective Space Cowboys. I listened to their mixes for a little while. They're kind of a little bit more poppy. They've got, you know, it's not depressing music. So listen to them for a while, and these Deckard mixes were in there. And so when I'm sitting here trying to like look for music that I'm going to be putting in the background of my stream, I'm like, I want something that's not terrible. I don't want, you know, the dogs barking meme music to be in the background. And I want something a little nice. And so I harken back to these mixes. These mixes are 12 years old. So I've got a music problem right now. I need to branch myself out and like find stuff that I like that's maybe more popular, but at the same time, like Twitch has gotten, you know, harassed by the RIAA and all that stuff. So music has become annoying to incorporate in your streams these days. I think Djibouti Show and Milton are still using one of those services that you pay for. You actually pay them, and then they have their curated music, right? And then there's others where, like, if you put their music in your stuff, you got to credit them, which is, I mean, the bare minimum, right? Bare minimum is you got to credit where your music's coming from. So this has been the easiest way for me to do it. And also, I'm allowed to use perfectly copyrighted stuff. It just is a little baffling for the YouTubers who don't get it at all, and then the VOD watchers who also don't get that channel. That channel is there to protect me from litigation and strikes on my account. The dog color will definitely be a circle back around and block a few times. Oh no, circle back around the block a few times. Well, okay, so we keep learning about features that I can incorporate that I've had to incorporate, right? That was one of those ones where it was kind of like exploratory surgery, and everything has been coming up Millhouse on the dog collar. Everything. Every single thing that I've looked into has worked out on the dog collar. It was like, you know, because we started out, I was like, what if I replace these with LEDs? And everybody was like, use WLED. And I'm like, wait, what's WLED? So we explored WLED. I was like, whoa, this is exactly what I need. What LEDs am I going to use? Oh, well, what if I use the 2mm wide ones? Then I can have 92 LEDs in the thing, because that would be crazy. Oh, okay. That worked perfectly fine. We ended up printing a 1mm tall PETG backing for the LEDs. It was perfect. It worked out just right. So then, well, okay, this thing fits a Seed Studio Zhao. I need something that can run WLED. It doesn't need to be all that featureful and powerful. Oh, ESP32. Okay, I'm going to get one of those. Plug it in. Do I have enough pins to do what I want to do? Not really, but I can run audio at least. Oh, that'll be fine. Audio is all I need in a dog collar. The dog will be running around, and her tags will be jingling on it, and that'll make plenty of noise to make WLED do cool animations. All right, cool. No accelerometer. We'll leave that alone. We've used up most of the pins. Now what? Now what was, let me look at some of the patterns that I can run. And it was like, oh, okay, these patterns are pretty cool. They're using up a lot of current. Why are we using up so much current? That got us into the low power stuff, the battery monitoring stuff. Oh yeah, that was why we went with the Zhao 32, is because that one has battery tabs on it. And so we have a specific pin where we're monitoring how much battery level there is. When I looked to display the battery, I got a little bit more into the programming and discovered that the functions aren't as featureful as I would like them to be. They kind of want you to drop down into the level we're doing of microcontroller coding in order to get features out of some of these user mods. And so looking at all the user mods, I discovered the stuff that we could do or not do, and we fell upon a feature set, but the current was still way too high, and I was just gonna bite that bullet and just get through it, right? And then I discovered that there are special low power modes where you can turn off the radio, and so that's where we are right now, where we've just barely tested radio off mode, and it's exactly what we've needed. Every single twist and turn in this project we have been able to overcome and succeed in. So the last part of it is going to be putting it onto a voltage divider, making my own user mod that will shut the radio down when it's not plugged in. That project has worked, and it's gone well, in spite of the criticisms that people have had, that I've got to field every single time. Why are you doing this way? What are you doing? Why does it do that? What does it do here? Why is this? Why are you using WLED? What's going on, Bother? What are you doing? Why would you do it this way? Why wouldn't you do it the way I want you to do it? I've done everything that an engineer can do in order to build a personal project out of a microcontroller. In this one, I am immune to criticisms. We have been doing it in just the right amount of time. I haven't rushed any of this project. I've been working on it with you guys. So I don't know. I get people coming in and criticizing me about this stuff. I am yelling at a straw man, but it's just my frustrations lately have been revolving around how slowly things appear to be going. And they are going slowly, but I'm trying to keep chat with me on this, right? This is dusty, and I have absolutely no chance of dusting this, do I? It's not going to be dustable. This will shred anything I try to dust with. Yeah, I mean, relatively, if this were the only thing that I was working on, I wasn't doing it with chat, it would be much further along by now. It would probably be all put back together. But we've got like 2 more streams with this thing, I think. That would be testing either a voltage divider or something that's gonna allow me to see whether or not I'm plugged in. I don't think there's anything in WLED that can sense when the USB has been plugged in to power. Because if I plug it into I don't mean data, just like a charger plugged in. Actually, wait, let's check. That'll be ESP32, right? Yeah, learning a nuance all take time, but they're never allotted for. People don't give you that benefit of the doubt. And maybe I just need to learn different language when people come in here and they start nosing in on stuff that we've been working on for months. Because that's on me, like, right? That's on me. That's what this is. It's a show. It's a show of force. How can I make this look a little better? If you guys are like, just like a little, oh, this song. This is a weird one. ESP32. Oh no, but the battery charging is a totally separate circuit. That's right. Oh, okay, yeah, right. I remember reading that now. Yeah, that feature's bunk. There's no sensing from the battery charger. It's a completely separate system from the ESP32. Seed Studio has something in their explanation. The music's going to be totally... I'm just going to pause the music for this. Speakers, waves, up in my mind. Okay, I said boom da. Okay, in Seed Studio Zhao's, in their blurb about the ESP32, they have a whole explanation on the battery charging circuit, and the battery charging circuit is completely separate from the microcontroller, and they apologize for this. They said they can't run a line to the ESP32 because they don't have enough I/O. Even though I'm sitting here like scratching my head, like I thought there was a lot of I/O on ESP32. Like there's a lot there. You could probably put that to just some pin, but they decided not to do that. You can't shut down the LDO because they don't have enough pins. And the battery charging, I think, is done completely separate from the ESP32, which is unfortunate. I got language for that, but most get offended. Yeah, no, I'm not going to yell at people. They're already overloading every pin on the board. I mean, we're doing that too. Yow. From your speaker. Huh. Battery charge chip. This guy. I probably should look up the schematic. To right time, it might not be the right one. Whatever, just give me cookies for a PDF. Bow, bow. Yeah, so where's the charge pin? It's not one of these digital jammies. Oh, the pinout is like a... Well, yeah, they've loaded up the external pins. I'm talking about internally. There's an ESP32 inside of this thing. The ESP32 is, I think, what we went to. Oh, no, that's the RP2040. I got the wrong chip. Yeah, the ESP32 is the wireless capability, so it might not have the pinout. Let's see. Let's ESP32 pinout. Man, you know, I've been stewing over it, and I know it's going to get old if I keep freaking talking about this crap all the time and there's nothing new. Hey, look at all these pins. There's all these pins in this thing. So why would the Zhao be so limited in the amount of pins that it's using? Because underneath that can is the same thing that's in the Zhao, right? I need overloading that's loading just enough. That's at its rated load bearing capabilities. Wait, ESP32C3. Okay, so maybe it is much more limited. Where's the chip itself? This is what you can run into in these modern microcontrollers, is that they always exist on top of somebody else's platform, and that's what the C3 counts as. Whereas I'm looking for the chip, which is a different designation. Yeah, it's got a few less, but like, look at all that stuff. That seems, because the Xiaos have severely limited pinout, but what's going on under the hood can still like have things like, you know, the microcontroller be able to communicate via I2C to a more complicated battery charger. Maybe, I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but I thought that would be something that would be completely possible. And the fact that they're bothering to put a battery charging circuit on this makes this lend itself to something like a WLED wearable project. It's like, man, if I want to sell LEDs to furries for a lot of money, right? It would be awesome. They could totally fund me for a while. Send me your fursuit, and I promise, as long as you disinfect it properly, I can put LEDs on almost the entire goddamn thing. You might have to lug around a sizable drone battery with you, but boy howdy, would it light up a room, considering the things that are available LED-wise. Like, man, and I could get fair compensation for my time and money doing so. I've done wearables before for raving stuff, but anyway, yeah, it's like so the battery charging circuit is like kind of necessary. I mean, if you were gonna do what I said and load a fursuit up with tons and tons of LEDs, your battery charging is a completely different animal, because you would be charging like a larger cell, and so you'd probably be able to have a couple, like, you know, drone-sized batteries in a pocket that you could switch between. So that wouldn't really need its own charging circuit, because that would have separate charging apparatus. But still, yeah, the pause and the emphasis. So yeah, it's like an independent thing, and the charge LED doesn't talk to the microcontroller or go to any of the pins or anything. So I would want it to just power up the 5-volt pin, and then we would go from there, I think. Yeah, this one has an onboard, even more frustrating is that this one does have an onboard voltage regulator, and it's a separate piece, and it doesn't have the ability to be shut down by the micro, because they said, we don't have the pins to do this. They don't have the pins, which is very, very, very frustrating. Very frustrating, because I'm trying to make a lower power mobile device that could be used for all kinds of sex fetish parties, a light up dog collar that does rainbows. But my tiny little battery that is encapsulated inside of the waterproof, this is important, the waterproof enclosure, not proof, water resistant, but the battery that's inside of this thing needs to be able to plug in and get charged on a device that has its own independent battery and isn't like a big battery for a big system. So yeah, it's funny. WLED is perfectly positioned to enable all these features. ESP32 was so close, but I don't have the shutdown of the internal 5-volt regulator, and I don't have the battery monitoring innate to the thing. We had to build a circuit separate that does battery monitoring. We're able to get around that facet of the project. But then I also have to get around the sensing whether or not USB is plugged in, which could typically be done by looking to see if there was serial data available, right? You could look for serial data. I'm looking for 5 volts from an external source. The microcontroller doesn't know how to do that. It doesn't do that. It just gets 3 volts from the internal regulator, and that's all it knows. It says, yeah, I got 3 volts from the internal regulator. The internal regulator is like, that's what's responsible for getting it from either the battery or the plug. So we've got to take that 5-volt pin that goes directly to 5 volts from USB, route that to another one of the pins. We're running out of pins. I didn't want to do it with micro switches. I know there's all kinds of tricky stuff that I could do with switches to sense to see whether or not you've closed the collar, and use a switch on the USB to see if the USB-C is plugged in. But then you've got a mechanical switch in there, and that's another failure point. And it's something that I have to sort of doctor into the device. Whereas this way, all of our features are on the circuit board. So we're almost there with the dog collar. I didn't want to work on it today, although discussing it with you guys makes me a little bit more hopeful about everything going on. And then 2 100 kilo ohm resistors, so 200 kilo ohms on a little lithium ion battery. I don't like it, because that means there's a constant discharge, much like myself. But I think we just have to live with that. I'm gonna do it again. I mean, yeah, fine, whatever, Hall sensors, but I don't want to glue magnets into this thing. That would provide you with a definitive battery cutoff if I still had all those Hall effect sensors, not the little like chip ones. I mean, I used to have ones that were in little glass vials, and so you could put something, I wouldn't want to really put in a glass vial, but if I took this out, because I'm not using this collar to put on a leash, this is just for visibility. I don't do neck collars for the dog because she's a 40-pound corgi and she can basically transform into a boat anchor if she wants to. She can stop me dead in my tracks if she digs in. So we have a harness so that the pressure's on our chest and not our larynx. But so I don't use this for anything. So if I took that out and put one of those glass, that wouldn't get close enough, I don't think. Hall effect sensor, and then glue a magnet in this side. You know, glue and tape and epoxy, trying to keep that out of the equation here, because those are things that'll fail. If I modify the stuff inside here and it does all this stuff just innately, that would be good. I mean, like, you know, the microcontroller should by all means have all those functions in it already. The Zhao is using the ESP32C3. 32C3 is a limited pinout. And so they did not build in those functions. It would be really nice to have. I don't know about the C6. Yeah, I haven't looked into the C6, so I don't know what the C6 has or hasn't. I have the chips themselves sitting in front of me. Let's see. I don't know which one I have. Oh, C3S, okay. Zigbee. You are reset button, boot button, charging battery current is 100. Oh, so this doesn't have that much charging current. Huh. Modem sleep, 30 milliamps. Ha! Look at that, 30 milliamps and 2.5 milliamps. It's crazy. All right, so you got all that stuff. Similar pinout. Some interfacey stuff on the back, I'm not sure. I can't believe how well Zigbee has held up over the years. Yeah, I can't believe it's still around, huh? Zigbee's been around for a while. Yeah, the home automation people that use Zigbee love it because it's just totally different, right? You're not getting into somebody's Wi-Fi, and you don't need Wi-Fi to be everywhere in the house. People can't break into it as easily. The C6's Zigbee support, you can make your dog an IoT device. Well, I could do that with Wi-Fi too, but I would rather turn off the radio modems and have the WLED be the lion's share of the current. Because those LEDs are power hungry. Oh, this is a neat feature. RF switch feature allows you to toggle between the built-in ceramic antenna and an external antenna. That's a piece of RF equipment that you just kind of probably don't really need. I mean, I guess in a development platform it's nice to have, but in something like if you're installing this into a project, you already decided earlier on where your antenna is going to be, right? So having a digital switch between those two is not necessary. But I guess, you know, hey, parts are cheap. Oh, they used up a GPIO for it. So they put an RF switcher on that. Bootloader mode, reset. I'm looking for info on battery. When successfully uploaded, you see the following output message. Battery usage. Features a built-in power management chip, allowing it to be powered independently by a battery or to charge the battery through its USB port. Connecting a battery, the Zhao, we recommend using a qualified rechargeable 3.7 lithium battery. When soldering the battery, carefully distinguish. Yeah. Don't. The silk screen marking, oh wait, on the left side, negative electrode pad should be on the left side near the thing. Okay, no, that's just identifying it. Batteries connected, the red light on, Type-C cable 30 seconds, batteries connected Type-C, fully charged. Okay, red light turns off. Reading a battery voltage. To monitor battery voltage on the Xiao, similar to the ESP32C3, damn it, you'll need to solder a 200K resistor in 1-2 configurations. Setup reduces the voltage by half and allows it to be read by analog. Code below initializes the ADC. Okay, so deep sleep and wake up. So it's unaware of when it's plugged into a battery or not. That's the annoying part. I just built a Zigbee device for my shelves to display lights. Nice. Figured it would have died off. Doing something solo, they use 2 Zigbee kits to send data from the inverter to the router. I was floored when I saw that after cracking open a magic box that does stuff. Yeah. Same company cutting the same quarters. That's funny. In order to get it to Wi-Fi, they transfer it over to Zigbee first. Deep sleep with external wake up. That's what we're doing already. Timer wake up we don't need. Yeah, so it looks like the C6 is designed in the same way in that they don't give us any of those battery features. And it's possibly just the chips just don't have the pinout for it, which is very, very annoying. So in order to do battery level, you have to put it into a voltage divider because it's a 3-volt device, and then put that onto an analog pin. And for me to be able to tell whether or not I'm externally powered, I need to also put that on another voltage divider and put that into a digital pin so that I have a 1 or a 0. What's up, Jake Creates Stuff? Love your workshop. Thank you. It's everything I own on the planet in one space. If there were a fire, you would not hear from a bother for months. I would be streaming from a pocket calculator of some type. But it's my co-host. It's the workshop is the co-host. I just burnt out one of these because I didn't completely read the docs and used a charging module on the battery while it was connected to the board. Yeah, its charging chip is an independent circuit that feeds its own independent voltage regulator. Expressive, please, if you're Xiao or Expressive, if you're listening, please use a smarter charge controller and put it on I2C and tell people it's there. Just, it's so much better than you can't do what you want. You have to use up 2 pins. If I'm using up 2 pins, let it share I2C with everybody else. So then you can build something in there into your own chip definition or whatever, or maybe I could just, install I2C onto the chip, right? And put the internal, the resistors on it so that I can pull that I2C device, the device, that will be able to talk back to me and tell me, oh, here's the state of charge. Here's how much battery's left. That's it. That's all you need. So it's more dollars. It's more dollars to a feature that maybe not a lot of people would use. I just want to build rainbow dog collars for the furries out there so that they can buy all of my stuff at marginally inflated prices, but have clever consumer electronics that would allow things like WLED to exist on a pretty decently built piece of plastic collar. Yeah. My actual motivation is that when I take the corgi on a walk after stream, it's been dark out. And so with it dark out, we've got a big hedge right outside of our driveway, and that big hedge is on a busy corner, and people whip around that corner with their cars, and I do not want them to run over my corgi. So I've wanted to make a more featureful light for the dog collar. I've been using this one in the meantime, but this one, when you first boot it up, it goes into flashing mode, which I guess is okay, but I don't really want the dog flashing. She's not that kind of dog. So I want it to be solidly lit, and I said, hey, well, maybe I could take over the electronics and make it do just like an RGB strip. And so we ended up with zigzagging RGBs to do some kind of amazing visuals on it, but we're not there yet. We need to build in one more feature on it. Anyway, we're doing modular synthesizer stuff today, so I'm just chewing the fat about other projects so that you guys can maybe know the state of things right now, right? The state of Bother's health, normal. I started one of those powerful weight loss drugs on top of all the other powerful drugs that I take for type 1 diabetes, and it's done gangbusters. It basically immediately snapped me out of this sort of escalation of food mode that you get into. And this is kind of common with diabetes too, because I'm getting external insulin for all this stuff. And the more insulin you're getting, the more you're going to get cravings for food, and the cravings and the insulin and the blah, 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 it just spirals and spirals. And so, boom, take the weight loss drugs. Suddenly my brain is quiet and I don't need to eat, and I don't need to be thinking about what I'm going to eat next. There's just so much less tension around food now. I'm not starving myself. I'm not doing that. I'm not the, Ozempic, let me take Ozempic and then I don't eat for a month and then I post my pictures up on the internet and I get popular. No, I'm not doing that. I've been on SGL1s before 5-10 years ago, and they do really well in shutting down these cravings, and that helps you build habits over time. And so I've recontextualized all of my portions, all of what I'm eating, and I am skipping meals a bit, and I'm going to keep doing that, but I'm slowly tweaking down the amount of body fat that I have. And I think I just ran into the first indicator today. I took all the garbage out of the shop, and I'm like, my muscles are exhausted. So I think I've lost some muscle in all of this. I'm taking the dog for walks. I'm still staying active and all that stuff. But I'm slowly ramping it. So I went from, my own scale saying 280. That's a lot of weight, 280. I'm at 260 right now, 263. And I've been there for over 2 weeks. So now is time to sort of turn up the temperature just a little bit more on this frog, and start portioning even less. My goal is 200. My doctor says 180. The doctor's scales bump that weight up like 20 pounds. I don't know what it is with the scales of the doctors versus the one that I have upstairs. And I'm stuck using my cardio scale, QARDIO. That looks really good and looks nice in the bathroom. I don't know how accurate it is. I just don't know. But if I keep that as my measurement device, we can keep going with that. I've wanted to modify that scale because that scale should be able to give you logs. And so I could share with you, I could put up on the screen the log. The problem is the company went out of business and then they turned off their server. And so now I have this scale that has the ability to speak Bluetooth to my phone, and I have no way to get into it. And there's some strategies. Short Lurker and I have talked about this a bit on the Discord. There are different strategies that I could take in order to get into the scale. I could try to take it over in software. That would be kind of difficult. I could solder a Bluetooth modem to it and take over the load cells, which seems to be like probably what's going to happen. Take over the load cells, take over the screen, and solder my own thing in there, and then use a particular app. I could install a shady app onto my phone and somehow get the scale to reset and look for Bluetooth, but I'm not totally sure I can do that. So there's a couple things, but all the things that I do will completely wipe all of the data off of the scale, which I guess, as long as I'm just putting it into the bother pancreas section of the Discord, I can make a chart later. It was nice to see the chart on the cardio app, but or maybe cardio will open source something. That would be nice. I was talking about bother, the chip using currently. I'm not that smart either. I mean, make my own PCB using a different chip would be the ultimate expression of this project. The ultimate expression of the dog collar project would be to use my measurements of this thing and then get my own blank PCB to do the same thing as the original one. The same dimensions as this original PCB, right? But then use it as my own playground, because I could have the button in exactly the right place. I can have the USB-C socket, which I do have plenty of these sockets. That would be in just the right place. I'd put these expressive chips somewhere around here and then make this an antenna and then have the battery hook up underneath the board. And then I'd have my own I2C charge controller, and then I can save all kinds of stuff. That would be the ideal way to do it. And actually, that's what the Fusion 360 people want me to do, because I would use their software in order to do this. And then I can do sponsored stream. Well, they're not specifically sponsored, but they'll allow me to use their software for free. We need to do a Fusion stream, but I don't think it's going to be for the dog collar, because the dog collar is not meant to be that extensive of a project where I, get my own ESP chips. The extensive one was supposed to be the keyboard project, but I don't know what the hell's going on with all the tariff stuff right now. Can you do exercises? Do you have time and motivation, or does your weight have nothing to do with lack of movement? I take the dog on walks, and we've been taking increasingly lengthy walks. Although we don't go around the whole half-mile circle here. I do like up the hill, down the hill, just because that's a little bit more difficult. And she keeps me, just from her natural corgi movement, she will run a little bit faster than me. So I'm running, I'm walking, I'm jogging. It's not a lot. It's not a lot, I admit. But it is keeping me moving. So it's not lack of movement, really. I'm not as sedentary as I used to be before the dog. And I think that's helped a lot. I think that's done quite a bit for me. But I can always ramp that up a little bit. All right. Yeah, I don't know. So that was going to be a project, actually, setting up my exercise bike. I have an ancient exercise bike. It's not a bespoke bike. It's a mountain bike in a trainer. And it's a fluid trainer. And my thought was I could take one of the drone motors that I have, one of the 3-phase motors, and I could literally just plonk it, plop, blah, 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 blah. I could just plonk the thing up against the tire and have that spin alongside and then measure how many watts I'm putting out. And then we could come up with something fun, like, for instance, braking, braking, the motor based on channel points, maybe. And I have a turntable bearing that I could put the steering on. And then I could put load cells on the brakes. Maybe not load cells, maybe just Hall effect on the brakes. And we could perhaps roll this all in to something like an AT Tiny or one of these Zhaos. And I could make that into a game controller and give chat the ability to wreak hell on whatever I'm doing in a racing game. So however many watts I'm putting out would be how much I'm pushing down the accelerator. And then chat would be able to suddenly make me bike through a material that's not air, molasses or something like that. And have them hold me back, or spend channel points to suddenly turn the wheel left and then back. So that's all a possibility. That's a thing that I could maybe build in, and we could do the torture bother stream, which would get kind of annoying because it's look at Noita, where they have the chat mode. Noita goes, ooh, what things can we allow chat to do? Oh, this will be fun, this will be fun, this will be fun. When you have them all available to you, you start the game in Noita and you go, all right, it's time to get through this game. And then chat goes, blow them up. And you go, and oh, I blew up. Thanks, chat. And so chat becomes this force of evil. So I don't know if I want to enable that. Used to do 1 intense hour of treadmill every 2 days when I wanted to lose some weight. Yeah, I did when I was on testosterone, and that's the important bit, is I'm borderline low T. So I'm not building the muscle that I should be able to build. When I was on the T, I was doing an hour on the bike 3 days a week, and I was felt I got fit. And then of course, being a consultant in Washington, D.C., all of a sudden the jobs blew up, and I got real stressed, and I gained back all the weight. So seen a system like that where you can influence the game called crowd control. Yeah, a lot of the bigger streamers that I've been sort of following for years, they've been using crowd control for a lot of their stuff. Noita has it built in. They've got their functions built in, but what you need to do is, because it enables them all initially, and so Noita becomes 10 times harder because people can nuke the area that you're standing in. Crowd control allows real money to actually be part of the transaction, though. But for things like Noita, you need to go through the list of effects and disable to make chat nicer. Yeah, and that's again, yeah, that's what I was getting at earlier, is with the exercise bike, we could also use the respiratory and heart sensor, the non-contact one, and put the blood glucose up on the screen, everything. Just hit all the buttons at once so that there's so many biomonitors that you don't even know what's going on. That's an idea, and that's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, but I've got the components are starting to come together. If you guys didn't know, I use Android Auto Pancreas system to manage my diabetes. I had a cheeseburger for lunch. This is what a cheeseburger does to Obother. And you can see all the little boluses of insulin that are going into regulating my glucose level post-cheeseburger. In a post-cheeseburger world, this is all the stuff that's going into me in real time because my phone is coordinating between a constant glucose monitor, a Dexcom G6, and my insulin pump, which is an Omnipod Dash. Both of them are the previous generation of technology for both of these companies, but I am fighting tooth and nail to keep those for as long as possible. As long as they're producing them, I'm going to be using them. But that integrates it and then uploads it to a Heroku app, which the Heroku app is public. If you go to cgmdatabot.herokuapp.net, you will be able to see this chart. You can't affect it without an admin code, but still, that's all possible. This is all real time. My doctor can look at my status right now if they wanted to. Pretty cool. A lot of work, a lot of money, a lot of insurance going into that. Where's frameless blood glucose, or frame blood glucose? There it is. Okay, let's get. I'm gonna get this like morose music out of here. Hit pause. That's the sort of towards the crescendo of the mix. Decides to put in some. I mean, good song, but it's like the. It's like crying music. All right, let me set up. We get to start soon out of here. How's everybody doing today? I missed Tuesday. There's just sometimes there's too much going on. We've got a neighbor who's going through some stuff. So every now and then I need to be the muscle for all of the old people that I live around. So I wasn't able to stream. I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, we were just talking about the suite of sensors that runs Obother, and the sensors that are on the horizon for possibly exercising streams where we play games where I can measure my respiratory rate and heart rate. I don't know about blood pressure. I think iPhone does it in a weird way. If you do, I don't know what's available for. I would like it to be contactless, just because then when you guys see how high tension I am, I can blame the sensor. But if it was contactless, because I think when you do blood pressure in that scenario, I think you have to have a constant cuff on you. And the constant cuff versus me with blood pressure, I am not young. I'm on the precipice of showing a lot of signs of my age soon, albeit the gray hairs that are sneaking into my beard. I was years and years ago a proponent of the pushback against people on the internet calling themselves old. I am the first millennial. I'm like the 10th millennial or something. It's a low number, but yeah, I'm getting old. I'm starting to lose some weight. I'm going to look a little bit more withered as we go on, but I was there for the pioneering days of the automatic blood pressure cuff. What that meant was that as a child going into the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where I'm from, they would put you in these collar. Your kid put this collar on. No, they would put you in this cuff, and the cuff would squeeze the ever-loving crap out of your arm, trying to get a sensor read automatically. And if you moved a finger, it would squeeze it up again, and it would let off air very, very slowly. And so your heart would be pumping in your ears, and it was stressful. And I've never really tested myself for it, but I think I have that condition where your blood pressure spikes up when you get your blood pressure taken. I'm also on some very powerful hypertension meds because I do have hypertension. I do have high blood pressure, but I think it's amplified by those cuffs and their insidious squeeze-em-thing nature. They squeeze the crap out of your arms. Anyway, I would love to find out something about alternative blood pressure monitoring systems. I don't know if they can do that accurately contactless. And I think the Apple Watch does it in a slightly different way. I think it's measuring oxygenation and some other stuff that it then relays over. But one of those oxygenation things would also be kind of fun to do, although that would be measuring muscle and not the overall system. That would be an individual muscle monitor. So you'd have to wear something that you'd strap on. And I think I can buy a strap on. I just have to Google the right thing. getting weird search results. Anyway, we're not working on that today. I'm just talking on the horizon of cool stuff that I could incorporate into the stream so that we would have more health monitors, because I think that would be funny to have so much stuff going on screen, and they're all relevant, but it's just noise. And, you'd have chat going, and then you'd have, like, respiratory stuff. Oh, that'd be so fun. Yeah. Hi, welcome to Bother's stream. I know I haven't been around a lot lately. I want to work on modular synthesizer stuff because I think it's a little less frustrating. The dog collar project is coming along just fine, and we've got maybe 2 or 3 streams left in it. I say that could mean 5, but that usually means about 2 or 3. We got to test one more feature on that, bro. Just one more feature, bro. Bro, one more feature, bro. We're not putting an accelerometer on the dog collar. We're just going to go by sound. So I do have like 1 or 2 free pins, and that 1 or 2 free pin we can use to test whether or not the thing's plugged in. And then I can learn a little bit about making a user mod that will sleep the modem when we're not plugged in. We're this close to that. We need to build that software. We need to test the hardware. Won't be too difficult to do. We're going to do that maybe tomorrow. I don't know. That's a lot of programming, and so I wanted to do something that was a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more soldery today, because I haven't soldered anything in like a week, and I'm starting to like twitch out a little bit. I'm getting the shakes and the withdrawals from not soldering something together. You guys should know I use my soldering iron like daily sometimes. So what I'd like to do is something that was deep down on my list, and it was working with brain custard in order to make it into a low frequency oscillator instead of what it is right now. Right now it's working in audio speeds in order to make buzzing noises. Brain custard is a very strange device. It is a way of injecting randomness into your modular synthesizer system, and it uses a neural cluster of transistors in order to do its dirty work. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that means. We're gonna have to read a little bit about it today. So let's look up brain custard and figure out what the hell I made. What did I do? Why did I do this? And then in the instructions for brain custard is the ability to swap parts out in order to make it more of a melange. We're swapping out parts in order to slow down some of the oscillators, basically. And we're going to see if we can tweak that even further and make it like an LLFO, a low frequency oscillator. We were talking microcontrollers in shop, and I know a lot of this stuff sounds super duper smart, but you have to understand that this stuff is like a slow roll of functionality. What? Subscription failed. Channel notification. You guys have been able to get farts to work, right? Channel shout out create. Channel raid. Is that, I think that's the Twitch. Yeah, it's nodes burn the subs. Yeah, the farts still work. And those are powered by the same thing. Those are powered by the Twitch thing. Channel points, custom reward. That's, no, the idea, well, actually, yeah, the idea what light also works off of, well, whatever API element is involved with chat, which I don't think is the pub sub. No, that is all within the Twitch sub. So where are all these fail notifications coming from? Let's just clear all that. I'll look back on it later. Sorry, this is the Node-RED, which powers the shop, and if anything goes wrong with it, then... we don't have a help command, no. But does that mean I'm gonna like lose something if somebody subs? Oh no, that was a gift sub. You did not have to test it out with that. Okay, so that still works. Everything still works. Incredimike, thank you for the... Hey, thank you for the test. That was above and beyond. I did not need that. Thank you very much. There was a YouTube chat in there. Oh, there it is. What's up, Lake Shot? How you doing? So yeah, this is these Node-RED flows do all the interactivity layer stuff here. All the things that happen in the real world are actually brokered by Node-RED. Node-RED then gives me one entry point to the Twitch API for multiple devices around the shop. That will eventually include Burn the Subs. Burn the Subs is going to need some focus in the next couple months. We're going to have to get to Burn the Subs, which is this huge XY laser table that I've mounted on my wall. And it's mounted to the wall pretty well. It's been up there for years. We need to get it moving. And to get it moving, we're going to have to get into Clipper on the Raspberry Pi 5 and some other higher level things to facilitate that. We also need to make a wiring harness for it. Okay, anyway, sorry. These are all things on my list. I'm just refreshing all the neurons on it. Because we didn't stream on Tuesday. I'm like discombobulated. Brain Custard. 1,000 bits? We should make the light go green. Hold on, wait. I haven't built anything for bits yet. Holy crap, leg shot. Thank you for them bits. So let's see. Chat message, raid, sub or gift, point redeem. And then that's just something. So we're going to take these two. Here, let's take point redeem, cut and paste them. Let's come down here. And let's make that into bits. Message, payload event type, redeem. I think, hold on, oh, my debug wasn't on for the bits. That's the easy way to do it. Is if I had that running, then I could see what bits look like. But it's probably bits. But it might be bits redeem. Let's deploy this, hold on. Did you activate a hype train? Oh my God, flatulent gonad, raiding with a party of 30. So there's the user message that we just got. Hold on a sec. See, okay, one day I'm gonna buy some real sized, like not klaxons, but at least some of those spinny lights, and we'll be able to use Node Red in order to turn off the shop lights and make all the spinny lights do their thing for a little bit on the event of a raid. And maybe I can play like an air raid siren in, oh, Sark already does that. I don't want to copy Sark. But make like an air raid siren. The raiding message is kind of right on top of things, huh? I need to move that. The stream PC crashed. This is what I'm thinking about with those Steam boxes. They're not going to be amazingly super duper featureful like gaming PCs, right? But they will be enough that I think I could have a pair of them. And one of them can do all the OBS stuff, and the other one can be dual boot with Windows 11, which I hate that I have to do. I have to do that for CAD software, but the other one will be dual boot and do microcontroller, et cetera, you know, the rest of the stream stuff that I'm doing on computer right now. The Gabe Cube, yeah, Gaben Cube, Windows shat the bed. Tell me something new. We've been talking the just stack of projects that I've been working on, and then I realized that Incredimite comes into the stream is incredibly generous. They gifted a sub just to test something out, and then they gifted how many bits? 10,000, and then 100 bits and a couple little tests afterwards. So, what CAD are you using? Fusion 360 does not support Linux. They really should. They really should. It seems like they would be able to. There are various projects to make Fusion 360 work in Linux. AutoCAD likes their Windows. I don't want to run Windows 11. I really don't want to run it. If I'm going to run it, it's going to be a completely sterile system. I don't know if I can get it to run without like signing up for a Microsoft account and shit like that, right? And I'm perfectly happy to not play a game if I can't play it on Windows 11, or if I can't play it without Windows 11. I'm perfectly happy not to play a game. That's extremely rare nowadays, right? And then I can run some kind of a virtual machine to do like, you know, Jedi Knight Academy, like, right? Which I still have to get back to playing. Games from my heyday. All right, getting up here, we've got a lot of chat messages. Do we have our bits? So lowercase bits. Lowercase bits, and then amount is what we're going to want to check. So bits, and then we're going to put that into a contains, and that's going to be raw event object is there, payload object, payload amount is greater than number and it'll be greater than like 90. if it's greater than 90 bits, is that fair? I think that's fair. Or what I can do is, depending on the dollar amount, I can make the thing do different interactions, but only one M&M out. Listen. And then this one's greater than 100, so we'll bring that one into the light flashing mode. And that's the right bulb, so I can just take this, throw it right here, and then we can make that green. Green 80, power on, dimmer 80, color green. Green. So now, when somebody redeems bits, I haven't deployed yet, hold on. Take that out, and then let's deploy. So now when a user gives bits, the ideal light is gonna go green. And eventually I'll separate these two out. There it is. There's the 101. The 100 plus 1. The green is for the money, yellow is for the honeys. Yeah, so when I get bits now, this will light up. That hasn't been relevant because nobody wants to give me money, which is fine. I would rather them not give me money than give me money. I'm happy with you guys just watching me. But now we have another thing that we could potentially exploit. I could get a money cannon and have it through, or like 3D print a bunch of little physical bits and have it like throw them at me or something. We've been trying to get the emote thrower running. We haven't worked on that lately. 21 is not above 90. 21 is 21 cents, which used to be able to get you like a Coke. Stop telling me not to give you money. Stop. It's not that it's inconvenient. It's just, hey, you want to spend it? I'm happy. I'm happy. The original thing that attracted me to Twitch was that you could actually throw money at creators and pay them for the content that they put out, and that got the advertisers away from everything. And the advertisers are this sort of universal force. It's like a force of physics in the direction of enshittification of a platform. All the advertisers get in there, and then you're forced to sit there and look at ads for soda, right? And it's just vapid. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I'm in Twitch for its unique properties on being like a public access TV program where the motivations are just completely different from corporate interests. And by God, they found out how to erode that very quickly. Very quickly indeed, people started having dollar signs in their eyes, and the erosion of the platform is now in full swing. So here we are. But the monetary incentivization of being able to trickle feed money into your creator, I think that's great. I think it's funny to do stuff with that and give you guys like, oh, if I give them $1, then something weird happens in the shop. I love stuff like that. Flatulent Gonad does a lot of stuff with that. So does Boom, that channel, if you can figure out how to write that down. Write that in your notebook. It's like PBS loved that, yeah. Why did it go red? What just happened? Normal Value is subbed with Prime for 2 months. Normal Value, thank you so much. In the next, hopefully 2025, right? Hopefully, wait, no, 26. Hopefully in 2026, we will get the incentive, the big incentive for subbing to my channel back up and running. That's Burn the Subs. Burn the Subs, with a very convenient acronym. Burn the Subs is a system that gets onto the Twitch API. It's going to use all this stuff that we've been doing right now, and it's going to burn the names of subscribers onto a board on my wall. I have 2 boards. They're filled with thousands of names. The first one I think is like 1,000. Was it 3,000? I don't think it was 3,000. It was something like 1,600 names are on the first board. The second board has just south of 6,000. There was a big capital letter name that went into the board and it couldn't find a spot. And that was like 5,968 or something like that. It was this close to 6,000. So I'm just calling it 6,000. But this new board is not going to carry that many. I'm on both boards. Nice. Pambo. Good looking out. I have both of those boards. They're a backdrop for my gaming computer. I need to make them a side drop for the gaming computer so that when we do gaming streams, I can sit and you guys can see all the names right next to me, right? But anyway, with can you explain what happened to BTS? Why did it go away? Because improvements issues it had. No, see, with BTS, the board filled up, and so it was time to do something different. And it was time to take a break too. And so in part, I was taking a break from it. In part, I was just really starting to ramp up my abilities with Fusion 360, 3D modeling, 3D printing, 3D models that I built, and getting those into effect. And then I want to do a live edge on it, so I'm going to need a way to trace that live edge to do a keep out spot. And then I decided I didn't want all of my Internet of Things to have different, I don't want them to be contained. Leb TV Live and the others who came before him helped us get an ESP8266 to completely communicate with the Twitch API and make itself its own little Twitch robot. That's all well and good, but now that I have multiple systems, I have lights that are indicating things, I have other systems for farting in my shop, and the threat of future things that can be activated via Twitch, I wanted something that was a singular front end. And so we worked on some other modeling stuff with Burn the Subs, and we did a lot of 3D printing, and we made that control panel really nice. We got to the wiring section of it, and then I tooled all of this stuff up to work properly and be on something that's not a Raspberry Pi, because those SD cards are not as reliable as you think they are. I had one go out once. I had to drive over to Micro Center, which isn't far away, and get a new Raspberry Pi, come back here, get everything together. Yeah, that and we did we did want to water cool everything, so that took us a little bit of time too. So Burn the Subs has been in a sort of perpetual churn of project scope creep that I am slowly pushing it through the strainer of scope creep until it comes out sort of a gelatinous meld of all of those features. And we are getting there. We are sort of climbing up one step at a time. We are rising up to the stars above. Oh, damn it. Stupid popular cartoon show. All right, I don't know. So you guys saw in just 2 minutes, I was able to actually make the light respond to any bit donations that are over 100. And then I can make it do stuff. I can make it do all kinds of different stuff depending on that bit amount, which eventually I would like to do. Because if somebody, like right now, if somebody gives me 50,000 bits, don't do that. But if somebody does that, because that's like $50, don't do that. But if somebody does that, this will just go green. Right? It won't be that special. What I can do is I can hook it up to like spinny lights and flashing lights and do all kinds of stuff like that, right? In the future, I'll be able to do that quickly. And then I can have something where even the WLED stuff will be able to take an instruction from Node-RED. So if I've got LED strips sitting on the walls and stuff, if somebody like raids, I can have the lights go out and stuff just go nuts. So that'll be in the near future. So this is like straight embedded software design with a mix of mechanical engineering interaction of the viewers. Yeah, it's, believe it or not, my major in college was control systems and motors. So this is systems engineering. Strictly systems engineering is putting together a system of type, and we're not dealing with motors. So it's not totally, my major wasn't how to like choose the hardware that goes inside of the DIN rail mount, but still, it is very relevant to my major because this stuff is like control systems of complicated things going on. At least it's not as much math. We're not doing matrix algebra, but yeah, that's sort of what this stream has been doing. We've been I've been trying to do a variety of projects and keep it punchy and keep things accessible, right? Be funny if light intensity was controlled by the amount of dim I mean, I could literally just punch the number. Ooh, whoa, whoa, too much data. Ah, my brain. Okay. I could just do message payload amount. I could put into the JSON here. I'd have to look up how to do it though, because I don't know exactly how to do that. But in the dimmer piece of the JSON, I could just assign it as the bit amount. But then, 100 bits would be maximum brightness. So you probably have to do like an equation on it. I'm dealing with the same at a new job, learning STM32 and board layouts for custom PCB. That sounds really fun. The dog collar project has had us looking into sort of the ins and outs of the, of WLED, which is a decent enough sort of practice project to kind of sink your teeth into how a big multi-platform microcontroller project goes together. Because I've never really looked at that closely, and I'm learning a lot over here. Okay, anyway, we're looking up, we're actually looking at, the Gonad raid completely distracted us, and then Incredimike, Boom Leg Shot. Was it just Incredimike and Boom Leg Shot? Normal Value resubscribed too, but yeah, it was Boom Leg Shot, Boom Leg Shot, Boom Leg Shot. I got shot in the leg a lot today. And then Flatulent Gonad raided with a party of 30. I have actually been shot in the leg, by the way. Let's see. Okay, so Boom Leg, that is actually kind of funny. Boom Leg Shot has given me like a 1.5 billion bits. It's insane. But we were able to make the indicator LED that I sort of have in my peripheral vision tell me that stuff is going on. And we were able to sort of launch that very quickly. In the same manner, Burn the Subs is going to be equally easy to implement stuff with. And I think the things that I just need to implement are profanity filtering. It's just simple profanity filtering. The comedy of Burn the Subs lies in how classy it is. It is this comprehensive and complicated giant wall-mounted project that involves intense engineering, tuning, and its poise and its class. It's burning on wood. It's a fine piece of wood sitting in an art gallery-like scenario. And then the laser turns on and it's beautiful. It is this beautiful hue of blue laser light that has power in it. It's powerful enough to actually scorch our fine, beautiful wood. And then it burns the glyphs onto this just absolutely immaculate presentation. And the name is Poopy Doople 12. That's Burn the Subs, right? Or like Penis Muncher 7. That's Burn the Subs. So that's that whole project. That is the encapsulation of everything that I want to create here. We're not working on that right now because I burnt out like really hard on it. But yeah, the whole shop, if I get it tuned right, the shop smells like somebody lit a match. So it's not that much smoke, but it's like lighting a match indoors. Not quite mahogany and bourbon. And it's also not stained, but still. Yeah, this is the Burn the Subs camera. Right now it's looking at the modular synthesizer, but that'll get retooled. And part of it is also that Burn the Subs will just come on without my consent. It'll just turn on because I'm not controlling when people subscribe. I don't say, hey, let's take a break and burn some subs. It just does its thing, and I go, oh, 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 and I like jump up and we run over there and really. Solid Electronics. Oh no, that wasn't. I thought Solid Electronics gifted to Penis Muncher 69. They just said that in chat. Okay, that's Solid Electronics. Thank you so much for the sub. I really do appreciate it very much. All you guys get right now is me just confirming and saying thank you. That's what you get, but that's what you get on every channel, right? I want to set the expectations in the wake of Burn the Subs. The pen is munchier than the sword. You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. I've got a song stuck in my head that I won't hum. Oh, stuck. So yeah, the modular synthesizer is this case that Julian gave me with a bunch of stuff that I've built myself. Oh boy, we're glitching out on this camera. Let's just imagine that we had normal camera work going on over here. This is the most extended camera from my PC. I should probably get a USB-C hub on this one. That's probably a good idea. The USB-C hubs are a little bit expensive, but they're fast, and so I can make them go a little bit more remote. This one is at its absolute limit, and I think I bumped the USB plug, so we've got some weird tearing going on here. Yeah, weird. Anyway, this box right here is the box that Julian gave to me in order to build a modular synthesizer, and I've been buying circuit boards only and stocking up on the parts. So now I've got all of this wonderful analog electronics and outdated microcontrollers that I have mounted to all of these boards. I put them all together, and then I realized that my soldering was the problem and that none of them worked. And so I had to build something that would allow me to tune and test all of these modular synthesizer devices that I was building from scratch. You can buy these things for like $300 a module-ish, or you know, like there's some cheaper stuff out there too. You can be pretty frugal with it. But the thing is, you need to be able to like, well, if you buy them just as finished modules, then you're ready to go, right? You can be a musician instead of being an electrical engineer. But I'm the electrical engineer, so I decided to be incredibly frugal to the point of fault, and I built my own tester that outputs a couple different outputs that are specific to testing and tuning modular synthesizer modules. We got that all together, and it's all custom programmed. It's still lacking a couple of the features that I really wanted it to have. Again, that's another one where if I drop down and make another circuit board, I could probably get that done pretty well. I wanted it to be able to tune itself with some voltage references so that it would do its own like little startup and tune itself, and then output the stuff I wanted to. I'm still building into this thing a MIDI output that is for a module that I specifically bought that requires you to hit keys on the keyboard, like a piano keyboard, in order to tune the voltage level on like microvolt scale. So in order to change because there's some debate apparently in modular synthesizers on where your C note is, you know, your C4, your central note on the piano, where you typically will have your home position for the thing you're playing. C4, there is some debate about where C4 is. I thought I could set C4 as 4 volts, because then C3 is 3, C2 is 2 volts, 0 volts, etc. Things are a little different than that. Some people use all kinds of different standards. So I have it tuned in one direction. I had to hit piano keys 9,000 times, but now I want to actually move it to another C4 level, right? And to do that, I need to hit the button, the keyboard key, like 90 to 1,000 times. I think it's like 1,000 that I need to hit it to move it that full spread. So what I'd like to do is make this thing just so that if I push the button up or down, it'll just bleat out that MIDI message that'll turn the C4 to a different note. I need to make that happen. I've programmed that some other time though. Anyway, that brings us to Brain Custard. Brain Custard is about the least offensive and annoying thing that I could potentially work on today. Brain Custard is something that's built by nonlinear circuits. I think nonlinear circuits is, are they Aussie? I don't know. I don't know where they're from. Anyway, the nonlinear circuits puts out like a module a month, right? And they're typically done with this absolutely bonkers trace layout where it's pretty much as the crow flies. Not very aggressively as the crow flies, but it is very quickly laid out. It's like boom, 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 there we are, right? You can see that the trace layout is mad. I love it. I love it personally. This is an older one, so they're not using the same Funky Kong connectors that the rest of us are. And they're using, this one is mostly surface mount. I think one of the other ones wasn't. One of the ones I have is all through-hole transistors, and I tried to make it surface mount, and it didn't really work out. But Brain Custard is, well, hold on, let's get out of this. Audio rate chaotic signals mixed to form neuron clusters. Low frequency patterns will emerge from the mayhem. So vaguely controllable noise and lots of it with LEDs. I want it to be an LFO instead of being an audio level thing. And there's instructions in the instructions for this module on how to do that. I've heard the sort of wibbing and wobbling that it can do, and I don't appreciate the audio as much as others might. I would rather have it random swinging things from or, you know, turning the volume up on things, turning the volume down on things, etc. Insert I know some of these words meme. A synthesizer is made up of oscillations, both audio and low frequency. I don't think you have a high frequency oscillator. You have a sequencer that sequences things, right? These are simple low frequency oscillator, moves something a voltage level up and down. That voltage level can translate into controls. That can be, instead of me sitting there and doing this with a knob, I put a low frequency oscillator on it. I sync that oscillator with my rhythm. It seems like it's sequenced, but it's not. That's kind of what I'm looking for there. Sequencer is something that runs at, you know, the rate of your rhythm and controls things and makes things happen at certain times. Is your written down music, is, you know, whatever. Filters, filter audio, or whatever. You know, a lot of the stuff with modular synthesizers or whatever, because like you can put audio into like a knob control. You could do that if you want. It's maybe not going to have the desired effect, but the fact is that you could do it without blowing everything up. So when I say or whatever, it's me thinking of like, well, somebody's going to bring up like a side example of what else you could do with something like this. So it's basically the controls that are moving the knobs back and forth can either be sequenced or you could put like an oscillator on it. And so I would like this to become one of those things because I have other stuff that's making the notes. And I don't know, I don't really think I need to inject chaos into parts of this. I could potentially use it with some filters on an audio level, but if I slow this whole thing down, then it becomes just sort of random knobs being fiddled back and forth. And I can potentially send in some kind of a, like a tempo to that, and it'll seem like it's intelligently turning things up and down or turning filters up and down. That's my intent. I don't know if we're going to get exactly there with this, but this is the nonlinear circuits makes all kinds of crazy stuff. And I should probably bulk up on what the modern stuff is, but I bought this in conjunction with a bunch of other circuit boards that I bought at the time. So let's, where's the build guide? And then we get into people who study this stuff in university, and even I'm confused. Inspired by concepts discussed in a 1990 IEEE conference paper titled Neural Network with Interacting Oscillators to Generate Low Frequency Rhythm. What? Huh? And then there's whatever this fuck-ass diagram is. What function of alpha feeds from function 1 of x, the sum of what? Is that a human heart? I don't understand. This image of the paper gave impetus to the development of a module using multiple interacting chaotic audio rate signals with the view of finding unexpected patterns, beat frequencies, and rhythms in the output signals. Now that's all well and good. I mean, that's kind of what you do get out of this. It's very harsh, the sound coming out of it. And while those rhythms may exist, they're a little bit more, I don't know, they're just, the chaos is neat, but I'd rather it be much slower chaos than audio rate, because then you can have more fun interactions with different pieces of equipment as the thing sort of wibbles its way across voltage levels and stuff. Yeah, here, in practice, it's mostly noise and lots of it. The noise can be modulated via the inputs, and a great variety of tones can be had tweaking the pots as well. I've had the best results feeding the outputs to voltage-controlled filters and phasers, which work nicely to clean up sounds and allow all sorts of harmonically rich waveforms to be heard. These are like the people who just sit there listening to stuff like making weird noises, and every now and then they get a borderline pleasing sound out of their otherwise chaotic insanity, and they go, ah, yes, ah, very nice. They sort of like sip their wine, they Swish the glass. Yes, that almost sounded like audio. That's these people. The chaotic oscillation is similar to those in... Okay. The chaotic oscillators are similar to those in the jerk-off chaos module. Ah, yes, the jerk-off chaos module. Huh? Yes, yes, of course. We were all thinking about the jerk-off chaos module. Of course, this means the module can be built as a kind of jerk-off on steroids and be used as a source of ridiculously complex control voltages. So that's where we are. We're trying to jerk off on steroids. That's what we're trying to do. I want it to be a chaos CV module. Sounds dangerous. The PCB is labeled for the off audio rate version. Details for both the module's CV generator will be given in the instructions. Inputs can be anything, audio, gates, triggers, or CV, depending on the pot settings. The input signals may do a lot or a little. The XYZ outputs are mixes of the same, blah, 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 blah. Cool. Okay, so we get down here and we've got all of our parts. And then I need to see where these parts are. As a result of the chaotic nature of nonlinear circuits, we end up with some design no-nos. And these are things that I like to go over when we look at other people's circuit boards a lot, but I do not fault nonlinear circuits for the choices that they've made here. These are just things that I don't like. There are component values written on the board. This is, in modern electronic circuits and construction, this is a no-no. The reason you don't do this is because if you decide that you want to use different hardware, or you find that people like a different value of circuit, then this is a liability. You just have this label sitting on the thing, and then in your bill of materials, you don't have any reference to this location, because these should be identifications of locations on your board. R7 should be a resistor that I find here that says R7 next to it, right? This is frustratingly far from the mark. 104 is, that's not an ohm or a farad value. 104 is not a farad value. It's a marking that's typically on some types of capacitors to tell you that it's a 0.1 microfarad cap. 10K is a resistor value. It's not a resistor designator or a location designator. So I don't like those conventions. It's okay that this thing doesn't follow them, because this is a silly little board that was made, you know, in less than a month, while also going to university. So whatever, you know, or being a professor at a university. So whatever. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a no-no. It is a big no-no in circuit design. Because in your bill of materials, you could just give a bill of material for the CV version and for the regular version, and those values for components can be different. You might want to make a note of it so people can find it. Those values for components will be different, but it'll still be referencing R1, not this 10K ohm resistor in this corner of the board. In order for nonlinear circuits to work with that, they've had to take screenshots of the board and tell you where these components are that you would replace with the low frequency oscillating versions. So it's like, this is more work than you had to do. All right, so anyway, CV version, replace 47 NF, 3 of the 100 NF, and the 220 NF capacitors with 1. We got to check to see if I haven't already done this, because it sounds like I could maybe put a much larger capacitor in there and slow it down even more. For that, I've got a doohickey, actually. I got this thing. I was talking with CyanoCat, I think, about the Pinchy multimeters, and this is like $40 or something, right? So I figured I'd give one of them a try. The one that I have is ancient and it's from Canada, but this one's a little bit more modern. It does some more stuff. So going off of the reference material, we've got 224 sitting right here. Okay. Cool story, bro. Oh. That's replaced with a 1. So that one is in LFO mode. I may need to go even further then. Let's test another 224. That one's right here. I think we already put this in CV mode. So my wubbulations becoming wubbulations seems to have already been attempted. If that's the CV mode, it's really not slow enough. The 4.7 is replaced with... Those are all capacitors. 6 of the 10K resistors need to be replaced with 47K. 34K, well, there's probably something else in the loop that's affecting it. 473 over here. 34, why is it reading 30? It's probably other elements of the circuit. 10K. 47, 34. Yeah, I guess we're just allowing that. So what else do we got over here? It's a lot of elements that get replaced in order to turn this into CV, but I think we need to bump up the values of some of these. Let's see, 100 nanofarad or 0.1 microfarad is a very common capacitor. And those got replaced with 1 microfarad. I mean, do we want to like just bump it up to 2 and see what happens? I think we can slow this thing down considerably and make its waveforms a little weirder. So let me get a capacitor kit here and we can start throwing down some caps. I have somewhere, actually I've got the little tiny ones, but these are a bit larger. So I think I've got a kit of the larger ceramics kicking around. Yeah, here's one. Oh, these are tantalum capacitors. Never mind. All right, I gotta, here, let's dive in. This is so involved. I have so much to learn. I don't know. This isn't that involved. I don't understand. The bottom line is I don't understand what the circuit is doing at all. It's some kind of a research paper, jammy, dingly bob that technically does thing, right? Replacing these with a value, I am simply going off of this. So the information that I'm going off of, right, is that the way you slow this down, the way you slow it down from audio to CV levels, because audio and CV can be the same voltage levels and stuff. The way you slow it down in speed is by replacing one value of a capacitor with a larger value of a capacitor. So if it's not slow enough for me yet, large value of capacitor, just bump it up, right? And we're slowing the rate in which it's capable of charging these capacitors. That's my understanding of what's going on, because my understanding of capacitors and resistors used in a timing style circuit, which is I guess what this is, your timing is dictated by your ability to charge the capacitor. That's fundamental to what a capacitor is. That's in the actual equations for it. Oh, you're talking about the PCB, not just the posts. The PCB should teach you humility and how to design a circuit very rapidly without giving a crap about whether or not your traces look clean. Some of them do, some of them really don't. It's a lot of crazy going on here, which is fine for a project like this, but it's still pretty crazy, right? All right, let's see here. Man, you know, this season is very annoying because it's cold. It's like freezing outside, right? In Pennsylvania. Freezing cold outside. Hot in the basement. And I have a fan on my back, which means I'm getting all of these varied air currents. So like my right leg is freezing cold, my left leg is sweating. It's really weird. I foresee lots of magic smoke. Luckily, buying the PCBs for these is not that expensive, and the components used in them are fairly common. You'll see a lot of the same operational amplifiers. You'll see a lot of the jelly bean transistors, resistors, and capacitors. So in my spooling up on being able to build the sort of analog weird circuits in modular synthesizers, I've been able to get a lot of very common components, and my collection has actually become more less susceptible to weirdness in designs, crippling my ability to fix things. And actually, we solved one of the last tenets of that recently. I discovered that there are actually these rivets that you can buy that you can hammer onto a circuit board and you can repair fully a via. And that would have helped me repair Julian's little sequencer that I brought in last time he was here. 1 UF, make way for 2.2 UF. We're going to take it and bump it up an entire decade. So we're looking for 225K. And then we'll plug it in and see what I broke. But yeah, instead of 226, that would be the next one up. That's 22 UF. So if we really want to bust out the slowness here, but we're going to double it. We're going to double what's there. So 1 to 2, 2.2, 225, 106, 474. Now, keep in mind, like, we're dealing with kind of a weird neural network, right? So my principle of just putting a bigger value in the thing, you know, unga bunga, that made it go slower, this may go slower even more. We might have some sort of untold, unknown effects from having bumped up the value the way that we are. It might have a weird effect on the circuit. It'll be interesting no matter what we see. All right, soldering. I guess I can just do it on this like this, just placing it on the desk. Usually I'd like something to sort of be holding it. If I really get frustrated, maybe I could put a piece of Kapton tape over the whole thing. But we've got a couple capacitors to find here. 3 of the 100s, all of the 47s, and the 220s that are highlighted here. So I'm just going to have to use this image and go through all the capacitors and replace them with 2.2 U's. This is a very annoying way to do it, I'll tell you. Left-hand mouse is diabolical. I'm slowly learning it. I have to be ambidextrous with this, and all I need to do is actually just click on the scenes that I'm flipping to. 3DX Connection, through the Fusion 360 people, sent me this for free. You guys should know. So I don't think it's my favorite mouse in the world. I don't mind it. If you can get used to having a center button, which I almost never use, so. Actually, no, I just straight up never use it. I ignore that middle finger when I use that mouse. I've gotten used to it pretty well. It's got a good feel to it. And it's got the thing the Logitechs were missing back in the 2000s, which is the power switch. That's always nice. I suppose it probably has a million billion DPI, but so does every mouse out there, right? And what do you do with that DPI setting? You just crank it all the way down to where the mouse actually functionally moves across the screen. I don't understand. They really botched that one, the whole DPI thing. Oh yeah, it's got 78 million DPI. If I breathe on it, the mouse will fly across the screen. The 3D Space Mouse would be pretty good. I have the normal wireless Space Mouse. That was the package that they were sort of offering up because it's their sort of latest like package of all the elements of the 3DX Connection controls. Their other Space Mouse are neat because they've got like the like wings, like winged to seal. I don't know. But that one is exactly like the wired one that I have, only it can do wireless. And I'll tell you something about the 3D Connection. Like the mouse is nice. It's great. And it allows you, if you've got like a client breathing over your shoulder, you can do a nice flyover. You just do a nice little flyover of all of your stuff, nice and calm and easy. And you can, you know, get that. I'm going through the front door of the CAD model now. I don't use it for any of that stuff. The most use that I've gotten out of the 3DX Connection, the Ideal 8 didn't do anything. Unless it was covered and I didn't see it do anything, but that should have gone green. I don't think it went green. Thank you for the 69 cents. Yeah, did the puppy survive the project? Yes, yes, yes. We need to build in that plugin feature to it, and that means I need to make a user mod and all this other stuff. So today I'm doing something that doesn't involve any of that because I have a total executive meltdown. I'm modifying a PCB that already works. I get to do this. I'm the streamer. I'm the streamer. You're not my dad. You guys can't tell me what to do. So I wanted to do a little soldering today just to kind of kick off having missed yesterday's stream. Yeah, but with the dog collar, I figure what I'd love to do with it is to have it turn off the radio modem when it's not plugged in. And to do that, I need to have another pin used up just to voltage sense. I'm good. I don't need that. No, I'm good. So all of these 0.1 NF, or sorry, 100 NF caps, I now need to go through and replace. So we're just going to do it from one edge to the other. I'm just going to go across and down until we've replaced them all. So first is this one. So the 3D puck mouse kind of collects dust here. I don't really use it for CAD programs because I'd rather have my hand on WASD so that I can do stuff with, you know, whatever keyboard shortcuts the program has. Oh, here's another one for you guys out there watching. Why bother? They have tweezer soldering irons that you could use. You could just use one of those tweezer soldering irons, the things that have 2 soldering irons in one and they cost $500 in order to remove these components. You don't need that. Every electronics shop that I've worked for, at least especially the government funded ones, have had one of those and it is covered in dust because nobody ever uses it. It's too specialized. Only good for sort of wrangling around your surface mount stuff. And in the end, you don't really need it. I also had the dog collar project powered down for a couple days just to make sure that it was, you know, safe. So I at least got that testing out of the way. I just hope that I can make it use so little current when it's off, because that LDO, the voltage regulator for 5 volts, is always going to be running, and that's going to use up a certain number of microamps when everybody else is powered down. I can't do anything about it either, unless I put a physical switch on the battery. But what I can do is make it last for years powered down. That's my only choice, really. Unless I put a push button switch on the thing, in which case I'd have to find a part number that would do a push button switch. I'm sure they exist though. Probably have some in my Alps demo. That has to be the coolest thing that I've ever gotten from a convention, and it's not that cool, but it has helped us out a lot here. I got a what is it? A calling card. There we go. Calling card sized PCB that is a demo of all kinds of surface mount Alps switches and buttons and whatnot. So whenever I need to figure out what kind of a button I need on something, or if a button breaks on something really important, I can just source the exact alpha part number and get it exactly right by feel. This is what I love about nonlinear circuits, is they're using surface mount technology because it's the best way to build something like this. That way we have all of our circuit elements sitting right in front of us. We can get to it all, and I can get it out without having to flip the board around and test it and everything. This is where surface mount really excels. This level, this size. 0805, I can operate an 0603 with a fairly little annoyance. There's like a small element of annoyance. Smaller than that is torture size or professional company size. If you're doing something like an analog synthesizer module, consider working in 0805 because it really is helpful to be in this sort of era and this size and this spacing. When the chips are down and I've got to do some hardcore troubleshooting, jumping around with a multimeter probe or a oscilloscope probe On pads like this, it is divine. It's so easy. And you can put clips on the legs of these dips. SOICs. Yep. The reason I'm removing the solder is because there's a bump for it. I could jump back and forth on the pads, and I've done that before, but whatever. I got the solder wick sitting right here. I might as well. And I'm being guided by the picture. I'm looking at this picture for what all the values of stuff should be. This one too, really. Wait, that's 10K. Oh no, that's a resistor. That one's fine. These two are fine. This one gets replaced. Rise up. Okay, that one out of there. And I'm discarding the old parts. I know they're 0.1 offs, and they are very useful, but time is money. Oh wait, that was the wrong one. Oops. And you can see I'm using my mid-sized iron on this so that I have a lot of heat, because I need a lot of heat in order to rework the parts. I just kind of manage the heat back and forth on the pins. I think I need to add solder to that. I literally couldn't fit 1206s on my keyboard PCB because there were so many diodes and resistors. Had to go down to 0805. I find 0805 to be comfortable, but then again, I've got a high power 1080p microscope that I'm using, right? And the alternative to this microscope setup is the coolest looking headgear known to man. Where did that go? One drawer down. The coolest looking headgear that I think money can buy at a whopping 20 or 20 something dollars is this Amazon Super Sale Yocto Sun headband that I frankly, I'd wear this thing to the beach just because it's so cool looking. But this will help you out massively when working on something like 0805. Now, it's not going to solve, your hunchback. It's not going to prevent your hunchback, but it does have its own white LED on it, which in the distances that we're dealing with, that actually is very, very helpful to sort of, know what you're looking at. A headlamp is the first thing that I started using, and then I used a jeweler's loop, which requires me to hold the jeweler's loop. I kind of tried to do the thing where you pinch the jeweler's loop in your eye, but then every electronics shop has those square things, those square magnifiers. Every old man has those things, and while those are cool, you don't look quite as cool as you do in these. These are great because they hold everything at just the right distance. They're fairly out of the way. You can just flick this thing up in order to actually see what's going on. These are amazing. And they use a rechargeable battery, so yeah. Need to order one of those. The company's going to vary because it's a white label product. This one says Yocto Sun on it. I don't know if you'll find the same brand. And this one has a USB micro, not a USB-C. So you probably want to look for one that has USB-C because that's where we're moving with all of our chargers. And then it comes with a bunch of different lenses that you can actually swap pretty easily into it. So you don't have to be crammed directly up to it. The only problem with that setup over years, what I technically I'm doing this professionally, right? And generally when you do stuff professionally, the price tag for everything goes up by many thousands of dollars. I've managed to be frugal. I was able to put my webcam into an enclosure, and that enclosure mounts from C-mount to Nikon 18, whatever, Nikon D lens or something like that. And so I've got a camera lens here. I've got an aperture control, and I've got a webcam that's a 1080p webcam. All of that happened to work out. I just bought the stuff and I said, I don't really know if this is going to work together. It happened to work out to have a full 2-foot standoff, which is perfect for this desk. So I lucked out in my microscope setup. I wouldn't suggest somebody goes out and tries directly to emulate it using exactly what I used, but then I have OBS running the webcam, and that means that I can pipe it out to you guys. And what it does is it keeps my back straight. I'm sitting on a 1960s era stool that's high enough for the standing height tables, and the monitor is directly across from me, if not up a little bit. And so that encourages me to keep from shrimping, so I don't have the gamer body that I always deserved. And it does wonders. My back is not typically tired, although lately my back has been getting tired, and that's why I suspect that I've been not losing pounds of fat, but pounds of muscle. I may have lost a bit of muscle. I don't think I can get it back by just targeting workouts either. All right, so this one right here we replaced with our double value capacitor in order to slow this thing down because it was going way too quickly. I want it to be like a super low frequency and then like sort of a mid-low frequency and then sort of like wrenching on the dials kind of speed. That did not appear to align properly. Oh yeah, the other reason I'm beat is I finally made a roux worth a damn. I was experimenting creating broccoli cheddar soup one night, and then last night I did like Kraft dinner style mac and cheese. So just the little elbow noodles and then a roux of cheese, not cheese-ez. And the cheese we had was relatively cheap. It wasn't very good for, it was kind of like a sharp cheddar. It didn't really do well with mac and cheese. I probably should have snuck a little bit of like American cheese in there as like an emulsifier. Because the broccoli cheddar soup, I wound up putting too much heat into the roux, and that ended up making the roux kind of gritty. Apparently, if you're using milk, the milk can curdle. I think this one we leave alone. No, we changed that one out. It looks different. Okay, you are the next. So apparently, if you put too much heat, if you're using milk, because heavy cream sounded kind of bad for soup. It's not terrible for soup, but I think it would have been too much fat and richness. So I used milk. I didn't have a lot of milk, and I added it very carefully, and then it boiled for a little while. And I think that boil was the mistake. I think that's what did it. So I now know for the future I can probably make a pretty good broccoli cheddar soup in the future. That batch is a little bit off. It's just a little off. And of course, if you talk to anybody about that, they go, "Oh, but of course that's what you do." And it's like, all right, where were you? Where were you when I was making this? Of course you have to do that. Oh no. It's like, well, guess what? I was sitting there looking at the thing boiling, like, I guess this will cook the vegetables. But yeah, even the recipe that I was using did things out of order. I don't understand why they did it out of order. They didn't save the milk and cream, the milk and cheese section until that's your last step in making the soup, because you're not really supposed to cook it any further from there, because that'll damage the curds or whatever. They'll make curds. So I didn't know that. And so it had me putting in the cream and then putting in chicken stock and then cooking the vegetables in that. It was, sorry, not cream, milk, which was crazy, because you should be putting in the chicken stock and then cooking all the veggies in the chicken stock, and then you carefully add in the creaminess. What a waste. I ended up trying using an immersion blender on it, which essentially just destroyed the broccoli, right? It turned the broccoli into like this broccoli sand tasting thing. And so you kind of go, oh, those are broccoli chunks and not milk curds. It fools your brain into thinking that you're having a good soup. 224 and 104. We already got these. We got these two, right? They look completely different though. We got them? We got that one. We didn't get this one. This one's still a lighter color from the others. My body does not know what temperature it is in here. Jeez. Oh crap, okay. So here's our first little snafu, is that this one was not held down very well on the pad, and that may have been a previous bother reworking issue. So we're just gonna very carefully put another cap on top of it. You have resistors where you should have capacitors. The 473s would be 47N. to be changed to 1 to 2 for CV to work. No, those are, wait a minute, let's double check. Maybe that's the mistake that I made. Yeah, you're right. 473 is not 47. Oh, so that may be, okay, so the changing them to 102 to 2.2s as well, this is going to have some weird effects. Yeah. That might be what was wrong with it originally. So we're still doubling the value. I'm still going to go forward with that, but we need to change those 473s with... What did I click? That was a weird thing to click. The 473s need to be replaced with the same value, with 220s. Okay. All right, that would do it. Capacitor where a resistor should be. Let me just get this 224 in there without damaging everything. Yeah, so if this thing is way too slow, maybe we'll go back to 0.1 UFs. Oh, for fuck's sake. That didn't do anything. Ah, damn it. Lose the whole thing. I might put blue tack down. Iron on? Yeah, it's still on. Oh, I'm in a weird scene with no chat. Hold on. All right. I don't want to remove the solder from this one because that might disturb the pad more. And the more I flex that pad, the less it's going to want to be a pad. And the more I'm going to have to like run a little wire to it to fix it. So I'm just going to rely on a big blob of solder to do all the work for me. Ah, shit. No. There, okay. That tipped down at the last moment. It cold welded on this side and I didn't catch that. So what I did in my panic is I was going to push down on the top of this thing with the solder wire that I've got, the little length of solder here, which isn't a great way to push down a surface mount component. It doesn't really, it's very, very weak metal. What it ended up doing was depositing a bunch of solder on the other pad, which had then heated up from the solder on the other side. And I wound up being able to push it down while adding solder, and it tipped down, and then the surface tension brought everybody together. Jeez. Because without it, it would stick to the end of the soldering iron, which is one of my pet peeves. Okay, all right, so let's see. We got the cluster of those replaced. We'll come back and correct the capacitor resistor flub. This one over here does not get replaced. The next one, that's a 10K. This one we replaced. You can see they've got a darker substrate. Any of the others? Let's go down a little further. Okay, so it's just the 473s here need to be replaced. 6 of the 10Ks need to be replaced with 47Ks. The 47s become, for us, 2.2Ks. This is what I'm talking about with this whole labeling of stuff as it should have a clear RR designation or a C designation. That way, I don't end up doing this and putting a resistor where a capacitor should go. Funny that it worked perfectly fine without a capacitor here. Maybe the output was just a little funky. Also, how do you tune something like this? It literally wibbles. I have no standard to follow for it. It just makes wibbling noises. Spot on for Ben Gizmo's ability to spot mistakes on circuit boards remotely. I may have a lot of really good camera equipment here showing you guys this stuff, but to spot that 473 is actually supposed to be a capacitor when there's not a clear resistor labeling was enough to fool me. So It's crazy. FedEx guy took garden tree with him on his back bumper. Oh, that's that like bumper that overhangs the back of the truck. Ooh, that's rough. Was it an expensive tree? In my advanced age and exposure to the suburbs, I'm learning things like plants are expensive. Those are luxury things. And so are rocks. I can't even afford rocks. Owie. Don't put your fingers on the upper part of the soldering iron. Yeah, I'm doubling all these capacitors, which may severely de-wobbulize this circuit now, because I had another mistake on the board that I didn't catch. So anywhere there's a 473 in this upper area, I need to replace it with a cap. That one. Is that one of the ones that's, hold on, I gotta double check with the locate. Yeah, that's one of the ones. One of the culprits. Man, that electric car project haunts me. I keep thinking about it. I'm never going to be able to do it, not for many, many long years. But man, it would be cool because we could set up like bench setups of everything so that we could get all of our microcontroller code working properly. Because I would do things like, I'm gonna add some solder to this because this one's not moving. I could do things like set up a bench test for like, you know, the tail light circuits and stuff like that. And we could build from the ground up things that would sense to see whether or not the right amount of current is being used by the LEDs, to see if any lights went out and stuff. Those would be fun projects because they're very straightforward. Automotive stuff is very straightforward. What's the best way to make a flickering light with no resistors? ESP32 or Pi? A flickering light with no resistors. You know, you can get LEDs that have specific voltages, but it seems like, I don't know, why no resistors, you know? Because when you're dealing with things like LEDs and lamps, you want to limit, ow, this is still hot and my finger just brushed on it. With things like lamps, especially with LEDs, you want to have current limiting resistors on them because a diode is simply a flow control device. The silicon will be, the electrical fields in the silicon will bias the diode over to conducting. And when it does that, it just simply allows however much current to flow. It doesn't care about how many electrons are flowing. The charges have dictated that it is capable of flowing through the material. And so the very tiny resistance that represents your silicon substrate will bleed energy into heat. And that heat will then create an environment where your silicon can no longer function properly. Typically that's a fire. So like the resistive element of any kind of lighting system, even incandescent, is going to need some type of current limiting. You can get away with it in incandescent because your elements can get hot and they'll sort of provide themselves with their own resistance. Yeah, or if you're looking like a higher level issue there, then you can maybe incorporate an LED bus that might not have external resistors. And I mean, they'll have their own internal resistors. But like resistors are kind of a fundamental on lighting systems. Sort of a strange requirement getting around that. 473s we're looking for. 473. There's one right there. We got you. We spotted you. Okay, and then the braid. If I could use the solder sucker on this, I probably should. It would help save some resources. Solder braid is a disposable component, and it's not cheap. But in the interest of not pulling my hair out in frustration, the braid's doing just fine. Oh. Flickering flame for model terrain. There are flickering LEDs. Or if you have an addressable element, you could maybe program in the flicker and then control it a little bit more. But there are also fixed flickering LEDs that are supposed to mimic flames. Although the WS like 2812 style addressable LEDs would give you more options, because if you don't like the shade of orange, you don't want to have to buy another round of LEDs. So like, I bought a bunch of those addressable LEDs on little pucks that you can then incorporate into stuff. And then even WLED has a flame flickering program on it. So like here, this is older stuff, but I don't know what you are capable of. I guess if I was doing like Warhammer 40K scenery and stuff, if I decided to dabble in that realm, you can buy WS 2812 or whatever. I don't know if these are the latest and greatest, but this would be just a little thing that you buy, and if you model that into it and diffuse the light properly, you would have complete control. So if you wanted your set to dramatically turn into warp fire, you could have a button that would turn it all green. And then your responsibility is to fit this little puck thing and then give it, solder to it and daisy chain them all together wherever your lights may end up inside of your model. That would be a very cool thing. Very, very cool. But that's digitally addressable LEDs. You'd have to have them in sort of like a pseudo string and know where your LEDs are. That would be the most functional in terms of being able to suddenly change the visuals. But if you want to just run like a totally minimal power wire out to wherever your LED should be illuminating something, and it needs to look like the flickering of a candle or some kind of a flame, there are, to my knowledge, I believe there are LEDs that have that built in, and they might also have the LED built in, or the resistor built into that. But then you get no control. You get what you bought. Whereas with the WS2812, if you can stomach a little bit of microcontroller coding, you can have complete control over what you're doing. I made a bunch of Halloween pumpkin lights using 4 AA Arduinos, 12 2812 rings. That was easier than finding tea lights. Yeah, they sell them in rings, and you treat that as a strip. Or you can buy it in strips, and you can separate out the strips if you can handle a little bit of soldering, like these. If you can't fit that little puck light, there's a couple different sizes of the W812 drivers. So these, you would cut in the middle of these pads, and then you can solder 3 wires to one and route it to another one. You have to cut in the middle of the pads because you need an in and an out. There's a direction to it. And you can see that arrow right there as your direction. If you're as masochistic as I am, you can get the even harder to work with 2mm WS2812s. But I don't know if those are going to be very easy to use. It looks like you can only separate these in pairs. Model making has, oh my God, is there a possibility? Holy crap. I could make an Enterprise D and have it fire the phasers. With the amount of stuff that I'm able to do now. Tea lights with the WLED in it. That would be really cool for pumpkins, because you can then coordinate a couple of them. if you're already running, you know, power out to them and you've got enough power to run Wi-Fi, you could have synced pumpkin lights. Damn, the stuff that you can do now with rapid deploying LEDs and complex LED systems is staggering to me, because I came from a level of all of that stuff where I wanted to do everything that everybody's doing, but I didn't have any of the means, and now all of them are a solved system. So you can just go and buy it. Ah! Yellow light. Somebody had an idea. Hold on, let me read chat. I'm not bad at programming. I may try the WLED idea. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And you know, the WLED thing allows you to control the fire display. So if you want to flicker faster or slower, and if you want to change the overall hue that's coming out of your fire, that'd be what I would do. But then again, I would probably also put the 2.7 millimeter ones in there just as a show of skill. So it depends on what you really want to do. How awful you want it to be to implement. Do I have any more 473s that I've neglected here? I think it was just a couple of them. No. 110K, 10K, 104, 10K, 224. I think we might have finished. We got that. We got that. Didn't got that because we don't have to. 473 we got here. 1010, 1010. 47, that is a K after it though. That's 4.7K. We're looking for 473. I think I got them. I think we might have implemented the entire fix. It only took me 3 hours. Streaming. I'll tell you guys something. When you're working on your project on your own and you've had like a whole pot of coffee and you actually motivate yourself to pick your dumb ass out of the chair and actually work on the things that you meant to work on today, it goes a lot faster. I'll sit down here with an entire stream's worth of content and get it done in like 10 minutes. But when I am explaining everything that I'm doing and I'm showing you guys things and I'm displaying techniques and I'm talking about all the oohs and ahs and the ins and outs that I thought that I missed during my professional education of electrical engineering, which is another one of the cornerstones of my show. It's one of the things. What did I want to bring to the world? I wanted to show people all of the stuff that I never got taught, because I went to these government operations where there were the guy in the electronics shop, and they taught me how to do all this stuff. This is not the stuff that I was taught. And some of these things are techniques that I've sort of created myself and evolved. But anyway, I wanted something that would show all of that kind of stuff in an entertaining way. Now, obviously, that means that I should probably go write some scripts and actually like act out the scripts so that there is an archive of stuff, of techniques and stuff. But hey, you know, I didn't know if that would have been a viable thing to do, so I decided to do streaming because it's a little bit more relaxed, right? We can talk shop and talk about projects and stuff here. Also, Morton, if you make that warp fire thing or just fire thing, I would love to see it. The Discord is the place to post that kind of stuff. We have a personal projects section. I don't know if I need like a show off your own project section. I think personal projects doing a pretty good job of that right now. But you know, there's some times where people are colliding with one another. I guess that's what threads would have solved. Oh wow, that is so much different than what it was doing before. Before it was just kind of wobbulating on the different levels, but now that's interesting. So I'm gonna bolt this down and I can show you guys some of what it's doing. This thing appears to be flipping sides way too quickly, and that might just be something that I can adjust out. it still seems, I was hoping that it would be just a bunch of wubbulating control voltages. Oh, we need to start up the oscilloscope in order to show what some of the voltage outputs are from this device. Now, this one I bought mid-pandemic. I actually bought it for 2 years ago for a birthday. It's a Rigol, and I like Rigol, and I still like Rigol in spite of this oscilloscope. Romano Josie, how you doing? Jose. Oh, he's Jose. All right, so the Rigol D9414 I bought specifically because it has logic analyzing functionality. It turns out in order to use this logic analyzing functionality, I'm gonna have to build a circuit board. I'm gonna have to build a circuit board that plugs it in line. Otherwise, the cable is $400. The reason it's $400 is it has LVDS, low voltage dual signal technology in it. In order to stabilize high speed logic, it flips it into dual voltages so that the voltage has to move in two different directions in order for it to sense a 1 or a 0. And that allows the circuit to be less susceptible to noise. Send something on your business email. Thanks in advance for giving time to read it. I'll check it out later. I will. The business email I can sometimes sleep on for quite some time. So good on you. Thank you for reminding me. I will check it. And the ideal light is blinding. How important is an oscilloscope for this type of work? I've been tossing around the idea of buying one, but they're so expensive. There's a whole category of oscilloscope that's gone down significantly in price. I bought a PCB oscilloscope for $30. I wouldn't suggest getting that one because there's more stuff you got to worry about with that. The oscilloscope as a tool in electrical engineering for putting together hobby projects is not necessarily a deal breaker, right? This is a window into quick timing based voltage changing, generic voltage changing. It gives you a much better picture of what's going on when the chips are down, when you don't have the ability to use like a multimeter and stuff like that. It'll give you a nice image of what's happening with your circuit and helps you troubleshoot around electronics more naturally. A cheaper oscilloscope probably does a lot nowadays. I'm not familiar with cheap oscilloscopes because they were invented while I had expensive ones, because there's always like a swap meet that that you can go to and try to get the equipment from other people who are trying to offload it. I have an oscilloscope sitting in the rack back there that we need to still fix so that I can have a display of oscilloscopes. So I'm the kind of person who has always floated around lab equipment, and I don't know what it's like to sit down and go, I need to buy something with my money to do this, to get an oscilloscope. I decided to splurge on the Rigol DHO914. It has logic. It has all the features that I want. It's basically an Android tablet with knobs. They upgraded it to like USB-C power. It's small, it fits in the corner of the shop, and most importantly, the thing that this does that I was looking for is that it has an HDMI output. And actually, it turns out, in spite of the HDMI output, it also makes an intranet site on your network that has the display of the scope on it that's 60 FPS. Technology has come a long way since my previous scope didn't have HDMI, so I couldn't put it into a capture card. It had a VGA out, and the VGA out you could put to a monitor. It's nice to have the scope on another monitor because then people can come up behind you and see what you're doing, and you don't have to smell their coffee breath, because they will do that. The engineering shop jet fuel is nasty, and I just don't like people walking up on my shoulder and going, hey, what's going on? What you doing? Are you looking at that signal? So you don't get that when you have a shelf with monitors on it and you have your scope up on the shelf. Not the scope, the display image of the scope. How hard would a DIY one be? You need an oscilloscope to build a DIY oscilloscope. I hate to break it to you, but when you're dealing with signaling electronics and stuff like that, even the analog stuff, you're going to want an oscilloscope. You'll need access to one. I would say it's a deal breaker, but I have a pile of Eurorack DIY shame because I haven't learned how to scope, and now sadly I'm turned off from DIY entirely. DIY, do yourself it. at the moment. I still play and use commercial modules. So don't beat yourself up about that. That's what I've been doing. I've been doing exactly what you have. Just burnt out, completely burnt out on it. I mean, you saw, we had a mistake on this board and I had to correct it. It was an intrepid viewer, but Gizmo is mostly responsible for things working out around here. I had an intrepid viewer go, hey, you did something wrong right there. The mutable instruments modules were some of the hardest things that I've ever built, and not because they were difficult to solder, although they were, because everything was so small. I got everything soldered, but then I didn't get everything soldered. I was talking to other YouTubers. I was talking to, you know, I sent Hajiwo a note. I sent Toil a note. They were very nice and got back to me, and I then took one last look at it and I realized, you know what? The solder is so small that I'm not seeing that things aren't soldered. And I took the scope and I went in with the scope and I tested voltage levels at different inputs and outputs in order to make sure that the connections were being made within. That was after I burnt out on the whole thing and didn't work on it for months. So keep making the music, because I haven't gotten to that part yet. Get a fresh head, come back in with a pot of coffee, right? Make yourself do a little bit of troubleshooting and learning a little bit of troubleshooting. I bought a whole book on troubleshooting analog electronics. So actually, I'm going to shill for this guy, even though, where did the book go? There it is. Robert A. Pease, Troubleshooting Analog Circuits. If you need more ideas about how to get through your modular synthesizer, so there's a coffee stain right on the, okay, let's just ignore the coffee stain on this fucking thing. Robert A. Pease has got a great sense of humor, good writer. You can see what he's working on right there is clearly an interocitor of some type. I think at the end of the book, he throws his computer off of the roof. Somewhere in here. I don't know what page it's on. Printouts are almost good for something. Yeah, Pease has a good sense of humor, and he goes through all this stuff pretty well. And a lot of the beginning parts of the book are good for just getting an idea of how you should go about looking at circuits and stuff. The knowledge is old. He's talking a lot about analog, well, troubleshooting, analog. So it's old advice. There are some things that I do differently in here. I don't have them all written out, but it's a really good source right there. You can probably find a PDF for that online. And then you have to read. You have to read. It's not a YouTube video. A very cheap logic analyzer as an alternative to the scope. For synthesizer stuff, for normal DIY, 95% of the stuff you're going to need is for you're going to want to be able to look at analog voltage levels, even if you're deciphering what a digital signal is doing. I'd rather have an oscilloscope for that. Logic analyzers, you can get one for $15. They work great. They work with software that's supposed to work with much more expensive things. But if you don't know that your signal is if you don't know your signal's TTL, what good, you know? So yeah. When are you coming out with a book? Oh, that's a lot of work. I should make a book. What would my book be about, though? What would my book be about? What would that be about? Professional clowns. How to stream on Twitch. How to be a professional F-boy on Twitch. Grok, write me a not racist book. I'm sorry, Father, but I'm afraid I cannot do that. All right, the DH0914 I bought a couple years ago, like pandemic timing, for a milestone birthday of mine, because I'm old. And I spent $1,000 on it because I thought it's worth $1,000. Months, maybe years after releasing the DH0914, Rigol released a whole buttload of scopes and the price for the 914. It's like a $600 scope. Oh my God. You know what? We've gotten a lot of really good use out of it because this thing hosts the image on an intranet site, and that way I'm able to get it directly into OBS. So it's actually monumental, the capability that I could have gotten for $200, $400 less. But anyway, check this out. Here, I hit the power button on the front, and we're right in the action. 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 The action. We're right in. The scope boots up. It boots right in. Here we go. Right, we're right into it. Right in the action. Wow, why is that so dim? Why are these very so dim? I don't have a lot of lights on it. What's going on there? Huh. Looks kind of dim. It's been a little while since I've booted this thing up. I don't think it's just the screen protector. It's weird. It seems kind of dim to me today. There's probably a setting that I could get to brighten it up a little bit. But anyway, it takes a full minute to power up. That's the unfortunate part about this. Now we're looking at our wobbulating signals here. So I've actually bought a couple cables that are going to help me do that. Yeah, the big disadvantage of this Rigel scope that I spent a small fortune on is that it takes about a full minute to power up, which sucks. I mean, we're used to scopes warming up, right? We used to have the vacuum tube in it, or the image tube, whatever you call that. And that would warm up, right? But it would warm up in like a couple seconds. So it's kind of bad that this takes so long. It's a good scope though. I mean, I've gotten a lot of good stuff out of it. We've been able to do quite a bit with this scope. There is an entire category out there of scopes that do not break the bank, and you can probably spend $100. I would probably spend $2, but that's me. I know I'm going to be using it. If you guys are just getting this because you're dabbling in the electronics hobby, and that's perfectly fine if you are. You know, I see this stuff about online recently about people calling other people visitors to the hobby, and it's like, bro, like everybody's going to be a visitor to your hobby. Like that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know that people will come in and ask questions that I have pondered ages past and already figured out all the value that I'm going to get out of that question. It may seem like it's a basic thing to me and it might annoy me to have to address it all the time, but you cannot avoid that, you know? And the better you treat people coming into your hobby, the more you're going to get people staying in that space, the less toxic you're going to make your space. It's just a matter of the nature of it, that you need to allow people to be noobs. Like so this is something that's not new, and it's not, I'm reading a lot of fan discourse recently for, you know, certain things people would call cringe that they should just embrace. Everybody's super afraid of cringe. Spooky. Spoopy. I'm so spooky. Spooky. Thank you for the bits. 100 bits for truth, and that lit up the idea light, which is just my general indicator of activity on the stream. If you guys didn't know, I've got these Node-RED flows that allow for all these interactivity things to happen in the shop. And since I got my first bits donation in a long time, I decided to, on the fly, add a green light out of my little indicator light. So now when you guys give bits, I can actually see any bit amount that's over 100. I am making it over $1. That's arbitrary. It was just something to kick off the flow. So anyway, there was, although I'm reading a lot of discourse and fandom, and it's becoming It's boiling down to like, bitch, can you read? Like, did you even interact with the media at all? Why are you asking this question? You got to be careful around those questions because they can be frustrating to somebody who knows all this stuff already. Why are you using an Arduino? It's like, well, because I've exhausted all of my other possibilities is the best answer that I can give. You don't want to completely shut people down for that because that'll get people to move away from your beloved, passionate hobby, right? This all happened with Arduinos. Believe it or not, before the Arduino, you had things like the basic stamp, which nobody really cared about or used. And then you had AVR Dudes, and AVR Dudes was a forum with a bunch of dudes that knew AVR microcontrollers, right? And what you had to do back in the day in order to get your programs onto a microcontroller was you had to know memory addresses, you had to know setup flags that had to be set up just right or you'd brick the microcontroller, and then you had to know your inputs and outputs, MISOs and MOSIs and whatnots in order to plug in to some type of a microcontroller programmer that was a much more complicated beast and could cost up to $300. And then the advent of USB came around, the FTDI chip, the virtual COM port, and all of that stuff allowed us, bootloader, the invention of the bootloader, allowed us to usher in an era where anyone, even somebody who wants to just paint a Warhammer 40K scene that happens to have some flames on it and they want to light up the flames, that person can use one of the more complicated ways to digitally address LEDs in order to realize their vision. Somebody who has more of an art base can get into the more microcontrollery base in an afternoon with a pot of coffee, sitting down, reading or watching a couple of YouTube videos. They can get into things that used to be incredibly complicated for us to do. And this is the best thing fucking ever. I love it. I love it. It's the best. Because then you have people who are more art-brained who want to do things that are, you know, ushered in by the more technical brained people. And we benefit from all of that art. So yeah. We used to have to program bare chips through parallel port. I have entire boxes that are filled with EEPROMs that they used to run, wipe, and then rerun. It's crazy. Here's our low frequency coming out of this thing. Okay, nothing is happening. Rise up. Do, 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 do. What did I do? Oh no, that's an input. Z output. Wobbling waves. Look at us wobble around. We're wobbling. This would be Z, which Z is a mixture of everybody. So if I take the high frequency and I lower it, those are lower frequencies. More high frequency. We're looking at a compounding of all of the waves together, so we are definitely wobbulating. So in terms of like putting in a control voltage, you could consider this to be the position of the knob, and it would be it'd be moving all over the place, right? And I can take just, wow, that's got a totally different voltage level, doesn't it? This is like the sum of all of our woobs, right? So let's turn off all three. And now we've got our LFO, basically. And it's being very minimalistically affected by everybody, although we don't get an indicator of what anybody else is doing here. I think these do the effect of the external inputs. I'll turn the external inputs off because we don't have any external stuff going in. And then I've got two controls for each of these, and I don't know what they are. The top, okay, so the top control is the amount that it mixes in. So here I've got the high frequency mixing in completely, and it's wobbling around our original. The low, it doesn't look like, or no, that should be low. That ain't low. This thing is the very definition of a wobbulon. This thing is very wobbly. But to what end? See, even this is a little bit too fast. It's possible that putting this through an oscillator, like a frequency or a V voltage dependent oscillator, a VDO. Put this into a voltage controlled oscillator and we get weird woo coming out of it, right? But I don't know if that could really translate into anything useful for me. And the mid's gonna like cut this, isn't it? I don't know. And it's supposed to be the interaction of these three. The low frequency does the most. Yeah, how am I supposed to make heads or tails of this thing? What in the world? It's funny because the author of the thing has all these different values in the components. He's got 3 different sets of values, and he says, I just replace them all with these other values. Replace it all with the 2.2. So I think I'm seeing a little bit of that coming through here. Because we replaced them all with the same value components, we're getting the same effect from the 3 different things. All it does is like make this more rough. Even this is a little unpredictability in it too, because it'll hit different voltages, it'll stick at different times. Yeah, see, it's like deciding to do weird stuff. In terms of having a wobbling engine, this is, I think, pretty successful, though. So I got to learn what I can do with this musically. I expected slower stuff to be happening because I wanted to use it to pull in and out different effects on things. Not effect, well, I wanted to pull in and out different like compositions and stuff in a voltage-controlled amplifier. But I don't know if this is a very good envelope when the controls for it do this. I mean, I guess I could turn it into a type of modulation, mix it through stuff, and just throw it places. It really could use like an overall output LED on this thing too, but what's this one? This one's the... What are the outputs on this? Hold on, let's take a look. What are my outputs? Brand Custard. Yeah, this is the layout that we get over here. Out, 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 out. Nope, that doesn't help us. XYZ, blend, and then custard is just everything thrown in. So right now we're looking at the blend. The blend is pretty chaotic. If I turn everybody off again, okay, I think that's a 10 volt. Here, I guess we don't need channel 2. Oh, we're pinging it. So we're hitting that full spread of voltages all the way up a little bit above 10, and then our regulator is keeping us from doing anything past that. Power supply, probably, although we're giving it 12 volts, and that, yeah, that looks like 12. So yeah, we're pinging it on 12. This should bring in the high frequency. And we get this fascinating lumpiness. If we look at our X here, so that's being added to the other one. You can see, I mean, that's fast. That's moving quickly, but it's doing some pretty funky stuff too, as the neural network is feeding back and forth. So I wonder if in like a VCA, what that would, or voltage control oscillator, what that would sound like. But it's going so fast. So that might not be too pleasant to listen to. What's our Z, our low frequency? That's going to be our plus minus. Although the low frequency is pinging on negative 12, the mid frequency is pinging on the positive 12? No, the mid frequency looks much higher frequency than everybody else. So again, this is what I'm suspecting, is that we don't have the controls that we think we do, because they're all the same values. Oh, wait a minute. Slowed that down by using the high frequency knob. Okay, so change of plans. I'm starting to think that I just simply have absolutely no idea what any of these controls do, and I never will, because none of them do what anybody would think they do. Like, this would be a pretty good slow signal. Z is just that. Okay, adding low frequency to Z. That might be fun. That looks pretty wobbulaty coming from the Z. That could be pretty fun. If I put another slow control signal into it, then I could turn it into sort of a bouncing ball kind of thing. I'm starting to reign in the chaos, chat, and it scares me. What the fuck is that? That's great. That is very wobbly. What the hell is that? Oh, iOS is a mega lol. That's a good one, because it's just like flapping in the breeze. It's like high-speed footage of an omega lol coming out of somebody's mouth. And you see the cheeks like slapping around. Okay, more chaotic. To the right is less chaotic. More chaos. Okay, okay, I'm picking up what it's putting down. I'm picking up what it's putting down. Less chaos. See, in this case, the oscilloscope is a way for me to test these things without annoying the piss out of everyone around me. This prevents murder, is what this does. If I were like hanging out with Julian and playing around with Brain Custard, and I put it into a voltage-controlled oscillator, and I was just listening to it go over and over again, and I wouldn't be able to discover that this makes it go instead of and then we both have to listen to that all day. So instead, I could look at the oscilloscope and go oh, okay, that's what that does. By being the voltage-controlled oscillator in my mind. So that can be pretty funky. And that's on the Z output. So while that's going on, does high and mid do anything on this? Doesn't seem to. Yeah, because these outputs, so they're not exactly, I thought they were 1 for 1, but I think they're different channels. Because like that is mid for Y, but if I adjust mid, it doesn't really seem to do anything with mid. If I lower this all the way down, I mean, it seems like he's got his wobbulations going. It is. So what if I adjust low? That does a lot for this. So that one seems like it's a more tightly controlled. Basically what we've done is we've put a bunch of cats in this box, and the knobs determine how much I'm shaking the box. Well, I mean, you know, it's actually it's pretty simple. This is how it works. And that's a very simple diagram with a lot of dotted lines. It's some kind of a neural network, man. I don't know. It's like pure chaos in a bottle. I'm mastering the chaos wobs. You have no idea what sort of chaos I've got going on in my pants. Is that an encephalogram? I think it's the closest the logic diagram has ever looked to being the human heart. Ah, yes, I can always recognize the radar map of Hanoi. This is actually the diagram from the paper. It's actually the Tokyo subway. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's apparently what's going on inside of this with summing and all that stuff. There is a schematic, but I don't know heads or tails of it. I mean, there's clearly 3 regions that are doing 3 different things, and those 3 regions get sort of selectively mixed with each other and then selectively mixed with each other again, which gives us all of our outputs. Fairly simple circuit, chaotic trace layout, just because it's nonlinear circuits. This is the bitch you live like this of electronic design. I don't mind it so much, but in the end, what we get is controlled-ish, chaos-ish. That would be fairly fun to throw at some kind of a modular device. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like this thing should come with an oscilloscope, because otherwise I am going to have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Which brings us to that $30 oscope. We need to make a front face for that so that I can put it on to things like the modular tester and stuff. I do want to make a circular screen oscilloscope for CV levels and stuff, because that'll be like a super simple, very compact unit, and it'll be this cool looking circle screen. We can make it green so it looks like an old school round tube oscilloscope. And then I would have it cater to only modular synth stuff. So it'd be plus minus 10 volts, would be like the max that it displays. It would be a lot like what I'm doing with the oscope right now, only a lot less computationally intense, because what we're doing right now is having an entire device with all kinds of different things on it that's throwing this image up onto an intranet site. Why is this up here? Okay, I gotta close that. But okay, we made our wobbulator wubbulate, and we fixed a problem entirely thanks to Ben Gizmo's ability to look at what I'm doing and immediately find a problem. That was like eagle-eyed as all hell. Just being able to say, oh, there should be a capacitor there instead of a resistor. Look at how funky that gets, though. That is prime funk. That is awesome. That's what I'm looking for. Only I'd want to slow it down even more than this. But I think this might be a good pace for just me to introductorily get into it. I would love to add an output LED to these too, but I don't think that's within the scope. I don't want to drill holes in the circuit board right now. Being able to see what these are doing would be a crucial part of using this device. It might add $1 or $2 to the building expense, but it would be nice to be able to see the LEDs going green and red depending on, this. Because that's cool. That looks cool. But yeah, I think I'm done with Brain Custard modding. I think I need to actually learn how to use Brain Custard in the first place. But this is just supposed to be a hang out and solder kind of day. We had some people coming in here asking about how to troubleshoot analog electronics and stuff, saying they were burnt out on their modular synthesizers. I would suggest this book. There were some things that I don't think I fully agree with in the beginning of the book that are kind of old. I didn't take any notes on it, and I got only through so much of the book so far. But there are tips and tips and techniques and stuff that might help you out with your analog synthesizer circuits. One of the biggest things that I found with the circuits that I've built is check your solder joints. Because first of all, get something that allows you to magnify your circuit so you can get way up in there and really see what's going on. If you've got stuff that's on like surface mount boards, you'll really want a good amount of magnification, and you can get that with one of these needlepoint magnifier kits. You don't have to do the big webcam thing that I'm doing. A couple people have tried to emulate it, but it's really kind of specialized for my stream. This thing, it's only a couple bucks, right? You can probably get it on AliExpress for even less. It's a piece of shit, but the optics are clear enough and they're magnifying enough that you can get stereo vision very close in on your solder joints. And one of the more important things is that it's got a source of light sitting right in the middle of the damn thing, so that when you're looking at stuff, you don't have a lot of shadows to contend with. A headlamp is one of my biggest suggestions when working on electronics. This thing combines it with a magnifier, makes it a very useful thing to get, and it's comfortable. You're going to be hunching over a lot when you troubleshoot that way, but go over your solder joints. That's the first thing that I would hit. solder joints, and then push comes to shove, you might want to get a multimeter in there and test some point-to-point tests. That's why I use the ohms setting, because then you can test and you go, oh, there's 100K between these 2 points, right? You can kind of jump around your circuit and make sure that things are working properly. One thing that really helped me with the mutable instruments stuff is looking with an oscilloscope at the resting voltage levels of all the various stages, getting into the microcontroller. So starting all the way out on the fringe, look at the power supply if nothing's working, look at the amplifiers if you're not getting proper signals, and then look at the ins and outs for the microcontroller, being careful not to short things out. That's sort of the strategy that I generally go for with micros. What precisely isn't working? No output there? Where's the output created? It's created here. Is the output there? No. Is it there? No. Is it there? Yes. Like that's sort of, you boil each individual problem down into small steps. Yeah, and that's how I'd go about it. If I had a rack full of marginally functioning, uncalibrated, somewhat powerable modular synthesizer modules, that's what I would do. All right, anyway, I guess that's going to be me. Boy howdy, have you guys been super duper generous today. I mean, we have the bits donations. Spooky from Boom Leg Shots been doing a lot of bit donations. Solid Electronics resubbed for 32 months. Normal Value, that was yesterday. Oh no, that was 2 hours ago. Yeah, Normal Value kicked it off, and Credamike was giving tons of bits just to test out some of the interaction stuff. You guys have been generous today. Leg Shot with 69 bits. That's that funny number. Is that like 6, 7? Oh my God. 7 idea. That did both. That did both. Good stream today. I'll have you know that in the outset of the day, I said, I don't want to work on the dog collar today, even though we've got a clear path in mind. What am I going to do? And it was like an hour before stream that I just went, fuck it. Let's just work on Brain Custard. Because I wanted to see what the deal was with Brain Custard, and it would be fun to sort of goober around on a circuit board for a little while. And it turned out to be a good stream because we had a ton of stuff to do and talk about, and the variety streaming thing does not finish big projects cleanly. We're going to do the dog collar tomorrow because we have a couple of little clear tasks that we can work on with that before I get into the part where I need to sit down and write software for an afternoon. But yeah, anyway, this is fun. This is Brain Custard is made by Nonlinear Circuits. Nonlinear Circuits puts out so many modules that they might not even remember working on this one. But there's a nice little theory behind it, and it's basically just chaos. And I love that. I love that. I love that I don't understand a goddamn thing that's going on with the module. Now that we've been able to fix it, I can see what I think about the actual like playing of the module itself. Like, is this useful in a modular synthesizer setup? I have not even gotten to the point where I've been making music with the damn thing, right? I haven't even made pleasant noises. And as far as I'm concerned right now, what these people do with their modular synthesizers, they hook up a bunch of stuff, tweak some knobs, they sit there with a wine glass, listening to just, and they like somewhere within that, suddenly this, and they're like, yes, that was a morsel of music. And then the rest of it's just, and I don't know, man. You guys have heard more than I have because you get to listen to Julian directly, but like, and they're like, yes, very nice, good music. I don't know. I'll be back tomorrow. We're gonna work more on some dog collar stuff tomorrow. So nonlinear circuits much more the noise area of the spectrum. They are the encapsulation of chaos. I believe nonlinear circuits is actually 3 cats that just got wet in a trench coat. At least that's how their brain works in terms of building these things. Here's the end card. Did I program it? I think I did. I do kind of want to keep my synthesizer stuff a little bit more on the analog side, considering the wealth of analog stuff that there is in modular synthesizers with analog. Digital feels cheaty at this point, you know? Because with digital, I can have like a fully featured sequencer among 500 other devices that will have a screen on it, you know? People have been doing some really cool stuff in like the digital space of modular synthesizers, but Yeah, was that Carltron free modular? Yeah, that's the free modular stuff. You can put thousands of dollars onto the thing. But I kind of like the dumpy analogs where you've got just some guy made a circuit board and it's weird. I don't know. We'll see where things get. There are probably directions that I need to go in to make my modular synthesizer do anything in the first place. And that's kind of where Julian's getting frustrated with me, is that I'm spending way too much time in the engineering part of it, and I need to be making music. Things that please bother I need to do. So I'll get my wine glass and maybe, you know, sniff some of my own farts, and yeah. Barton Musical Circuits. Is that another one of these guys? Pretty cool. All right. Am I throwing you guys at somebody? Because Flatulent threw a bunch of you guys at me. I don't know if anybody that pleases bother is on right now. Yeah, what I do is I basically just go on the sites that sell circuit boards and I look at the category of stuff that I'm looking for. I'll just look for circuit boards that are in relation to analogs and say, oh, that's neat, I want that. And buy it and then build it and end up spending months with it. Trying to get it to work at all. I mean, technically I could throw you guys at paleontologizing, but I think Cassidy. Let's see, it's Ghost, Agenda Freak. Yeah, Rabos is doing My Summer Car, but I think we're gonna leave it alone. Let's leave it alone, and you guys can wobbulate yourselves to whatever stream you're gonna watch next, or maybe touch some grass. I know I'll be, and it'll be in the evening time, so I'm gonna have to take my dog collar with me, and maybe I'll even take the dog too. I missed the technical issue. I should access it from here because that's actually faster. My end joke has been flailing every single time because I've been scrolling through this massive list of scenes to get to the technical issue one, which is technically my end card, even though it's not traditionally an end card. I got to remember to get it from the Stream Deck because that's right in front of my face, and all I have to do is go, I just have to punch the button like that.